Hello, good evening. Welcome to this special edition of Prime Hour on my Media Prime. We this day are going to be anticipating what the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, is going to tell the nation. Unusually today, we remember that the nation was taken aback yesterday by this press release announcing a delivery by the President of the Republic to address the nation today. I'm sure the nation is at a standstill across the 10 regions of the nation, anticipating, speculating on the motivations behind the president's decision to talk to the nation today. We must understand that the nation has been faced with the conflict up north, talking about Boko Haram. And for the past 3 years, the nation has been plagued by the Anglophone crisis, and many people have been wondered why the President of the Republic has not addressed the nation in relation to what is happening in these two regions. And then knowing that after the elections of last year, the 2018 presidential elections, we have had post-electoral crisis that led to the incarceration of the leader of the CRM movement, Professor Maurice Kamto. The president has decided to talk to the nation today, so we are going to be speculating like you who is watching us in Bamenda, you who is watching us in Boya, in Kumba, in Limbe, in Mutengene, in Douala, in Yaoundé, speculating on what possibly the president is going to be talking on. We do not know, and I'm sure in the course of the program, we are going to find out alongside yourself. We are going to make projections and then analyze the speech after the delivery with our panelists who are already in the house with us. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam is a social entrepreneur. He is an educationist par excellence. He is a politician, also a member of the ruling CPDM party. We're glad to have you this evening with us. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a special evening in the life of this nation, and we are either going to make Omar. So we are all ears, we are all listening, and if we're here today is to really get it from the horse's own mouth so that we analyze the things for ourselves, because usually when you don't listen, there are some very smart guys who on CRT will tell you what the president meant. No, we also want to tell everybody what the president meant. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to say it from our perspective. We know that many of you have chosen My Media Prime as your mouthpiece, as your earpiece. So today we are not going to let you down. Equally in the program with us is Larry Essong, all the way from Kumba. He is the publisher, CEO, director of the Scoop Media Group. We're glad to have you, sir.
It's my pleasure, Leo, and fellow panelists. I want to salute the presence of Dr. Nick. I've always followed him in other fora, including TV. I think he is one of those icons I want to salute, and I always follow, and who has always impressed me whenever he takes on a topic. It's my pleasure. I think it's unusual for the president to speak this way out of his two official periods. We know that is the 10th of February, which is on the eve of 11th February to the youth, and on the 31st of January or December, preparing for the new year. And so when the president has to speak at this time, I think there's a lot of expectations. There are many things that everybody's looking forward to. You understand that this one is even very special, that the president is announcing some days ahead of time, that the presidency has announced some days ahead of time that the president will be addressing the nation. And given the stakes, I think Cameroonians are but glued to their TV sets and are very much anxious. A lot of social media has been awash with what has been speculations and why not analysis even before the speech. So we look forward to something very, very, accommodating from the president.
It is often said that when you see a tooth running out of during the day, it is either the tooth is pursuing something or something.
It's pursuing the tooth.
The tooth, or that when the chief, His Royal Majesty goes out when it's raining, it means that the tides are high.
That's right.
And unusually, the president is addressing the nation on a Tuesday, not at on the eve of a youth day or a crossover end of year. So certainly something is at stake. We equally are in the company of a youth activist. He is very vocal, objective in his analysis. He's a youth leader from a division. Carlson Do is in the house. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. Also, good evening to Dr. and Mr. Larry.
Thank you.
It's great to be alongside these wonderful panelists. I hope we really decipher what the president is going to say today.
Okay, we are expecting Mohammed Suleiman to be joining us. We understand that there's a lot of traffic on his way here and the heavy rains. Mohammed Suleiman is already in the house, so you are going to be seeing shortly. I start with you, Larry Essong. What should be the climate or the atmosphere animating Cameroonians across the 10 regions of the nation today?
Yeah, I think the atmosphere is quite pregnant with a lot of expectations. Expectations, you know, and I do, that the country has been passing through a lot of, I've been passing through a series of crises, political, you know, as well as other crises. So the man out there is expecting to hear the president address pertinently some of these issues. And like I said, the atmosphere is pregnant. When you go to the social media, it is the talk of the day. Cameroonians are all on social media or trying to kind of speculate on what will be said today, what the president is going to address. Some, when you go to quarters, in the quarters, even in the markets, it is almost the same scenario. So which tells you that, in fact, Cameroonians are very much aware of the fact that the country is really not going the way it is expected. And they look forward to the man who is like the father of the nation to address the situation and tell them and probably chart a way forward for this country to, you know, go to safe shores, because he has the mandate of the people. Like we've said, he was elected about a year or so back, and I think the people look up to him now to see how he can handle and sort out and solve the problems that are currently plaguing the nation. And so I think that is the atmosphere that is animated, the atmosphere of expectation, of anxiety, of curiosity, and why not of if you want to call it, pomposity right here. So that's exactly what is the kind of atmosphere we have right now.
That's the fever we have across the nation. You
That's
have the same feeling. You've met with many people today. Dr. Nick, what were they telling you?
Well, there are a lot of expectations out there. I just forgot my phone at home, and throughout the day I've been reading the expectations from the different persons, people who are reacting from America, from around the world, from around our nation. Because, yes, the president is talking to the nation today, but I must say that you know, we've been expecting this for the past 2 years. We thought that when this thing just started, you know, we didn't realize, when I say this thing just started, I'm referring specifically to the Anglophone problem, because let's put things in context. The president is not talking to the nation today because of the last presidential elections, no. He's not talking to the nation today because of Boko Haram, no. He is talking to the nation today because of the Anglophone problem. And that's a problem if we don't solve it. If we don't get a green light how we're going to solve it today, then we'll either make a bad situation worse, or I don't know where we're going to go to. So there are a lot of expectations from the president as far as the Anglophone problem is concerned. He could mention many other things if he cares to, but as far as the Anglophone problem is concerned, today is the day, and we expect a lot from him, because if he doesn't say what the people expect, then there's going to be a lot of trouble. Because whether you like it or not, you know, the president is sitting. This is how it works. This is how government works. First, let's say that the government is put in place. Is put in place by the people, so that that government can turn around and solve their problems. But the people put a government in place, and this government, instead of solving problems, become masters instead of servants. That is the key problem. And we have to take them down from their seat of masters and let them get to understand that they're servants. Until we make servants of them, they're not going to help us. And you know, when the president for all this while he's been quiet all this while because he put people there to kind of solve our problems, and he was hoping that they were solving our problems, but they were taking everyone, including himself, for a ride.
But you say he's addressing the nation today to solve the Anglophone crisis. You should also note that there are issues, the crisis in the north with Boko Haram, in the east, and the post-electoral crisis with Professor Maurice Kamto.
Yes, he would mention those ones in passing. You remember that during the end of year speeches, he would mention the Anglophone issue in passing. As far as we are concerned today, okay, let's put the problems in the country on our fingers. The Anglophone problem, the Boko Haram problem, the Kamto problem, the youth problems, the unemployment, the bad governance, the underdevelopment, call it whatever. But amongst all those problems put together, the Anglophone problem carries 80% of the weight. And therefore, even if we spend the whole evening dealing only with the Anglophone problem, we would have solved a lot of problems for this nation. Because once he rectifies that, and because by the time we finish rectifying the Anglophone problems, many other problems will be rectified along with it. So technically, tonight is devoted to the Anglophone problem. I mean, others can benefit from the, from the fallout of the Anglophone problem, but today is the night of the Anglophones.
Okay, you think today is the night of the Anglophone problem?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. It's going to be, the president is going to talk first about dialogue.
Okay.
But
dialogue has to do with the Anglophone problem?
But Anglophone is not the only major problem we have in this country.
Okay.
The problem has to talk about dialogue because the clergies have called for dialogue, the politicians have called for dialogue, the human rights and social organizations have called for dialogue, the international community have called for dialogue, and his refusal to do this dialogue has greatly affected this country politically and economically. And it is not incumbent on the president to actually see that a forum is set for this dialogue to take place. I believe he's going to dwell on it very well in his speech. Secondly, the issue of Boko Haram. If you want to see the manifestation of poverty, go to the extreme north. They are suffering from poverty. They are suffering from flood. They are suffering from desertification. They are suffering from cholera. Coupled with the incessant attack from Boko Haram. Most of them all have run. They are all from Douala and Yaoundé, other cities in Cameroon. The places are all empty. So I think the president has to actually make some basic statement in order to cajole these people and tell them that, look, I have not ignored you people, I am with you people, and I'm going to fight for you people. He has to say that. Secondly, the political tension we have in this country is a very serious matter. If we don't care, it might tear apart the corporate existence of Cameroon as one country, one nation, and one entity. Therefore, the president is going to hammer on it. And I know today, inside the hall, if care is not taken, Professor Maurice Kamto will be liberated. He will be let go, and his 68 other people jailed in prison, including Michel Doki and the rest. He's going to declare general amnesty for all prisoners. If care is not taken this night, the man now has come out from slumber. He has raised out from slumber. He has known the consequences of his action. I think now all stakes are on table for him to hear, for us to hear what he will say. Another problem again is the Balaka and the Salaka problem. The sectarian fighting in Central African Republic about the Balakas and the Salakas that are affecting our brothers in the East region. They are in the East region. And therefore he has to make sure that that one too has to be contained. It has to be tackled. Because if you don't do that, look, security issue, when I was coming from town, people were talking about two things to me. They said dialogue and security. This country is not secure. There's a lot of insecurity in this country. You see, so they are saying that they want to hear the president talk about dialogue and security in order to protect and defend Cameroon, because that was the office he took as president of the republic. Every 7 years we queue over the Scottish song and vote him as our president. The hour has come. This is the moment. We are waiting for you, Mr. President.
Okay, this is the moment we are waiting for you, Mr. President. You are a youth activist. What should the young people of Cameroon expect from the president's outing today?
In as much as the rate of unemployment in this country has been skyrocketing, but I think this night is a defining moment where the president has to set priorities right.
Okay.
And frankly speaking, for me, I think the priority has to be the Anglophone crisis. And what we expect the president to do this night is that he has to take action. Probably we will not want to hear a creation of a committee which is going to investigate or do something. We want the president to take action. But should this have been coming through a speech, we have seen the president taking actions via, how do you call it?
Social media?
Not social media.
Yeah, the creation of committees?
Not by the creation of committees. The president used to give
Presidential
presidential
decrees.
or the decrees.
So
And
whatever.
Okay,
so for the
presidential decrees.
yes, for the president coming out this time via a speech, probably there's something really fishy. Could it be a resignation? Because for a very long time since this crisis started, everything the president has been doing has been via presidential decrees. This time around, coming out through a speech, we should not only look at the Anglophone crisis.
So what can you say about the mobilization and committee and the integration committee?
Definitely,
No,
we want the president
the
to be able to
bilingualism
take,
committee.
Yes.
the president should take action at this moment. Creation of a committee or delegating powers to somebody else to be able to handle what is happening in the country, be it towards employment or the insecurity, will not help any situation at this moment.
Okay, we went through the streets of Kumba to gather what the people of Kumba expect to get from the president this evening. Let's have a listen.
It's very simple. The head of state is the father of the nation. He knows every bit of problem that is happening in Cameroon. Right now, I will cite specifically on the problem affecting the Northwest and the Southwest. He must deepen his discussion on that particular section to bring peace and lasting solution on that section. Talking at the section at the educational section that has affected the Northwest and the Southwest seriously. So he's our father, and I'm happy because he's talking in times like this, and it is a very timely speech that he is going to talk to his fellow Cameroonians to create peace and reassure his population that the love and peace that is reigning in Cameroon should continue. Thank you.
As a matter of fact, if the president coming up with a speech is news at all, it is because we have been in the heart of a burning crisis. And so we would have loved the president to have spoken long ago. Silence is dangerous. Silence doesn't say anything. It doesn't give a leeway. That he's coming to talk today at 8 o'clock is quite refreshing. But to the extent that we may not expect much from a president who has behaved the way he has behaved, I'm afraid, until he speaks, we will not be able to say anything concrete about the state of his mind. But we hope that after passing through a dark tunnel, Cameroonians should now emerge in daylight with the president's speech.
As all the people of Cameroon, we think it's a good thing for our president to talk. The one little thing that I'm seeing it is that all people's hope have been lost. So as for me, I cannot be as a preacher be expecting something bad. I'm expecting the way out for the people because everybody is suffering. But what I'm really wanting to do is that he should see need of seeing how he can sit at the table with the people and do a perfect dialogue that will bring a lasting solution to this problem. I think that can solve our problem, and even if the people to come out from every kind of torture they're inside right now.
They expect anything from the head of state speech because this thing don't go on for over 3 years. We don't know what to wait talk. We just know say one just talk a normal propaganda. How will the show go? We need to expect nothing from me.
Okay, those were some inhabitants of the green city Kumba, the divisional capital of Meme Division. Dr. Nick Ngwanyang, some people say it's time for the president to redeem himself.
Yes, to redeem himself in the sense that, you know, he is the president.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you say you're the president, it means the country is organized like this, and you're sitting right at the top and everyone else is at the bottom. And therefore, you are responsible for the bad things, and you are also responsible for the good things. So from morning till evening, you are responsible for everything. And the thing here is he has a government and a parliament and all these people who are supposed to be working together with him and following his instructions so that the country can be doing well. But for some odd reason, we get the impression that he is sitting up there and there is this set of people who are taking him, the president, for granted, and taking him for a ride, and trying to be very smart, and they think they behave like cone men and cone parliamentarians and so on. And so, so these people, they tell the population one thing and then relate a different thing to the president. And because the president has his own way of governance, when he has given you the opportunity to do your work, he doesn't come looking over your back to see whether you're doing.
But
so
is the president not following the press?
No. The president, he trusts his people.
Trusts his
but
collaborators.
because when you don't trust the people, there's no need putting people there that you don't trust. But for some odd reason, I don't know what ill luck or bad luck or whatever it was, how comes he's just having a set of bad guys and so on? Because, I mean, come to think of it, there are many of them, probably there are 40 of them in the prison there or more even. They steal money, they do things, they kill people. And so they don't seem to work in the interest of the people. They don't work for common good, and they cannot define you the difference between truth and lie, define to you the difference between the truth and a lie, and they don't know what is good, true, and just. So at the end of the day, yes, we have this Anglophone problem, which has been there since 1961, or was it 72? But there is this thing called bad governance, which is caused by all these people that he has put in place, who are supposed to have helped him to manage the nation, who have failed in the management, and that seed seems to have been coming from another institution called ENAM.
Okay. Now, some people think that general amnesty is going to be granted to political and other prisoners today.
Yeah, I think the first thing we have to look at, if we're talking of the dialogue, we should have a basis for dialogue. What is the basis for dialogue? Who is going to be on the dialogue table? If you don't grant amnesty to those whom you think who have been, out there, because we know that, especially the Anglophone problem, which is forming, like Dr. rightly said, there is going to form at least the bulk of what the president will be addressing the nation to do. We realize that brothers and sisters are out there in the diaspora who need to also join their heads together with those in the country to look for a lasting solution. If they are not granted amnesty or clemency to come into the country and be part of it, I think we'll not be talking dialogue here. Now, those in prison, whom we know, whom we tag, because at the given time we heard people saying, whom are we going to dialogue with? There are people, you arrest people and you tag them, leaders of a particular separatist movement, and then you put them in prison and you're charging them as such. Maybe you sentence them. Now, I think we need to liberate these guys in order for them to also join in the broad-based dialogue so that we look for a lasting solution to this problem. So I think the need for amnesty or clemency to be granted to prisoners, to those who have been detained, and even those who have been slammed jail sentences or jail terms, and those in the diaspora, is of very paramount importance. I also believe that some of these laws that are redundant and that are repugnant to press freedom should be, or to freedom, to freedom should be scrapped off. The president should talk on how they can, in fact, they can revise those laws, especially the anti-terrorism law that is already, the kind of putting every Cameroonian, putting them under the criminal role, and that I think it is not a law that should be, that should be enacted in a democratic country like Cameroon that is looking forward to emerge by the year 2035.
Okay, we are moving over to the newsroom to get what stories have made headlines today. But immediately after the news, we are going over to Yaoundé to follow the address of the head of state. Please don't go away. We are coming right back to follow up with analysis on what the head of state must have said after then.
Being one of more than 200 majors of HIPMAT, I am proud of my success. It all began at HIPMAT.
I am a CEO. I coach and lead a team of salespeople. I don't hesitate to tell them the vision was planted and molded by Hipmat.
Today, I stand on a pedestal of experienced and committed lecturers. The foundation was laid by Hipmat.
For over a decade, Hipmat's credibility and ministerial recognition have trained more than 15,000 professionals in business management and engineering from HND to BTech, MBA and what have you. With an outstanding partnership with the University of Bamenda for BTech and MBA programs, our undoubted commitment to your show's success is a reflection of the future you painted. The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, Hipmat, a university for professionals.
HIPS, Higher Institute of Professional Studies, is offering a platform for zealous young persons to procure an education of reputable standards to fit into today's competitive job market. With effective bilingual education and 22 years of experience, Access HIPS offers HND, Bachelor and Master's programs in Management, Legal Affairs, Shipping, Logistics and Transport Management, Accountancy, and a lot more. Admissions are currently going on, and you can contact the numbers 652-971-020 or 679-441-072. Access HIPS, creating and molding professionals for quality jobs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my Media Prime's evening newscast. The headlines. Expectations are high amongst Cameroonians at home and abroad as President Paul Biya addresses the nation tonight. Some of their reactions on President Paul Biya's State of the Nation's address will be paramount in tonight's newscast. That was a lone headline. The news in full with Metuga Stanley, La Ngalame. Let's start in Kumba, in the southwest region, where denizens in Kumba say they are fed up with the consequences of the armed struggle in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. The city has been greatly hit by the crisis, and they are calling on the head of state to provide an enabling environment for a national dialogue to take place. Tamfu Sidwan Dimbie sampled their reaction and put together the following report from Kumba.
As the world awaits the President of Cameroon, Paul Biya, to speak this Tuesday, 10 September 2019, Kumba denizens have been given a series of mixed expectations. From Buya Road to Fiango Three Corners, from Bonge Road to the city center in Kumba, most city dwellers my Media Prime contacted have expressed themselves with a lot of passion to see President Paul Biya solving the Anglophone crisis.
It's very simple. The head of state is the father of the nation. He knows every bit of problem that is happening in Cameroon. Right now, I will cite specifically on the problem affecting the northwest and the southwest. He must deepen his discussion on that particular.
Some think that political prisoners and all those incarcerated due to the Anglophone armed conflict should be freed. Meanwhile, others think that a return to federalism will make his speech celebrative. On the other hand, most people feel that if the current president resigns, it will be a straight path towards finding a solution to all problems in Cameroon.
Silence is dangerous. Silence doesn't say anything. It doesn't give a leeway. That he's coming to talk today at 8 o'clock is quite refreshing. But to the extent that we may not expect much from a president who has behaved the way he has behaved, I'm afraid, until he speaks.
The city of Kumba, mostly affected by the armed conflict, has been for 3 years without children going to school. If the head of state calls for dialogue, this will lead to a possible way for children to to have an enabling environment to go to school.
The one little thing that I'm seeing into it is that all people's hope have been lost. So as for me, I cannot be as a preacher be expecting something bad, expecting the way out for the people, because everybody is suffering.
And this can only take place if the head of state announces that he will demilitarize the southwest and the northwest regions of Cameroon, free all political prisoners, and calls for an inclusive dialogue.
Time for Sidwan Dimbi and the report from Kumba. As the head of state, President Paul Biya addresses the nation tonight, Cameroonians in the city of Douala are still to come to terms with the unusual state of the nation's address, with so much speculations as to what the president will be telling Cameroonians tonight. Details with Lasha Kinsley in the following report.
Since the press release published September 9, 2019, stating that the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, will address the nation this 10th day of September 2019 at 8 p.m. on the national radio and television, hopes and expectations are high amongst Cameroonians. The announcement took most Cameroonians by surprise, as the head of state traditionally addresses the nation only on two occasions, that is the 10th of February and December 31st each year. With the socio-political crisis plaguing Cameroon, many Cameroonians think it is but normal for the head of state to address the nation.
Well, many people were waiting for it, and now is a great time for him to prove to everybody that he likes Cameroonian, all Cameroonians are the same.
C'est un peu surprenant, mais il est obligé de le faire parce que le pays va mal pour qu'il calme les tensions. Et puis on ne peut pas apprendre à un vieux, c'est un jeu de comment on grimpe.
Il ne pouvait plus attendre les temps des 20 mai, tout ça pour parler. Il est obligé de parler aujourd'hui, ce soir, parce qu'il a compris qu'il y a trop de problèmes qui ne font que s'accumuler au Cameroun.
The debate surrounding the health of the president and his probable resignation are also the concerns of many Cameroonians, as some think this is the right time for him to resign. Others believe the president should put his house in order before leaving the stage.
Ce n'est qu'un discours d'apaisement, parce que vraiment les Camerounais ont tant attendu cela.
How can the president resign when he's just been elected? You see, he still controls a majority of this country, because the majority of people are still with him. In as much as he has some opposition, which is normal in a democracy, I don't see the president resigning now. It will be too soon for him to resign.
But if what is coming to them to say something concerning the crisis, if they release what they want, let them release all the prisoners.
Whatever be the outcome of tonight's State of the Nation's address, it is the wish of all Cameroonians that lasting solutions be found to the multiple crises that have taken away the peace Cameroon once enjoyed.
The population of Limbe is eager to listen to President Paul Biya's State of the Nation's address tonight, taking into consideration their overdue cry for an end to the Anglophone crisis. Their expectations are centered on lasting solutions to the crisis. Kuma Onorembom tells us more from Limbe.
The population of Limbe received with mixed feelings the press release announcing that the head of state, President Paul Biya, will today at 8 p.m. address the nation. It is rare to hear the head of state addressing the nation on a non-official date in the calendar of the nation, reason why the population of Limbe is very eager to follow the head of state's speech this evening.
The position of the head of state has been that we are going to move into decentralization, which has been in the constitution for 20-something years, but which has never been implemented. But I think the moderate faction of the Anglophones is interested in federalism, while the radical faction is interested in total secession.
One would expect that the head of state would intentionally look at the issues the lawyers raised in their public memo announcing the hanging up of their robes and suspension of their role as defense counsels, their roles as counsel for plaintiff of defendants appearing before the courts.
Prophet Elijah Abiri is a clergy He is inviting Cameroonians to watch and pray while hoping that a national day of fasting should be declared for peace and reconciliation.
Why can't a nation like this, as small as we are, live in peace and in unity, and the power of God will be made manifest in this nation? There is no way, and look for a means. We look for a means where, what is the problem? Why my people cannot live in peace? What is the problem? What do they really want? Not only by addressing, oh, this man says an ambassador, we just arrest and lock the person. Oh, this man says he wants independent, we arrest and lock. No, that's not the best solution. Look for a means where this nation looks for a place where this problem is coming from.
However, rumors are circulating on the social media on a leakage of the head of state's address to the nation this evening. It is only after the head of state must have addressed the nation that the Cameroonian population can ascertain of the authenticity of the speech which is on the social media.
From Limbe, let's take you to Buea, where some inhabitants of Buea have expressed mixed feelings in regard to the address of the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya. Some hope his message comes with positivity as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. Our Buea-based correspondent, Ikomi Christinuela Eposi, tells us more from Buea.
Following a press release signed by the Minister Director of the Civil Cabinet, Samuel Vondo Ayolo, the President of the Republic, Head of State, His Excellency Paul Biya, is expected to address the nation today, Tuesday, September 10, 2019. Prelude to his message, inhabitants of Buea have expressed mixed feelings as to what the President's message will entail. While others think the President will unveil his decentralization plan, others suppose that it might be geared toward providing a long-lasting solution to the Anglophone crisis, which has lasted for a very long time now. To Budi Adams, the publisher of the Post newspaper, the head of state should call for a ceasefire, an all-inclusive dialogue, and a general amnesty to be declared to offenders of the state.
The head of state, President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, should call for a ceasefire in this socio-political upheaval that is going on. He should call for a ceasefire and then call for dialogue and declare general amnesty for the people who have offended the state per se, and of course look into the economic problems that have blight this country.
Adding his opinion to that of others was Barrister John Kamani, who said President Paul Biya, in his fatherly nature, will seek to ensure that the peaceful Cameroon regains its glory.
Well, I'm Barrister Kamani. I want to say that the President of the Republic is, by virtue of his years in running this country, and as a father, knows and have the country at heart. I know for a fact that President Biya will speak to the Cameroonian people about what concerns this country by expressing his love, fatherly care, and determination to make sure that the country comes back to normalcy.
As at the moment, adrenalines are high, ears and eyes are widely opened as the inhabitants of Buea in particular and the nation at large like never before anxiously await the President's address to the nation.
Ikomi Christinuela in the report from Buea. You are watching the Primetime Newscast coming to you live on My Media Prime Television. We are beaming from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. On to something else. In view to celebrate young African sons and daughters in their respective works of life, the Grass to Grace humanitarian organization recently organized the second edition of the Afro Community Selfless Empowerment Award. This proximity award is aimed at celebrating every outstanding individual while they are still alive. Faith Tata tells us more in the following report.
The second edition of the Afro Community Selfless Empowerment Award, which celebrates distinguished empowering young persons, recently recognized Mr. Fru Azza Roland with the humanitarian title Star Community Hope Giver.
I want to thank the Grass to Grace organization and the jury for this honor. I was not expecting it. I didn't know the little things I'm doing for my community and my country as a whole it's being looked upon by some other people. I am so grateful, and I am really calling upon the youth of Cameroon as a whole that we don't need to have so much in order to empower our community. But the little we have, we can do great things.
The awardee, Mr. Aze, has been found meriting based on outreach to orphans, internally displaced persons, street children, as well as investment in transport through the Roland Dangote Holiday Championship, as well as Cameroonian entertainment.
It's been an awesome event today. It's just part of our mandate ordained to us by the United Nations history 10 years ago, coupled with the fact that we have a legal entity, Grass to Grace Cameroon. We thought it wise that in Africa we need to celebrate people. We need to give them a pat on the back to build this African continent. We need to tell them, it's great, you've been doing so well. Trust me, there are a lot of African children, sons and daughters who do so much to their community and die without a dime, no recognition. It's high time we start celebrating our heroes, give them a pat on the back and tell them, oh, thank you for a job well done.
The Proximity Award, dubbed One at a Time, organized under the umbrella of the humanitarian organization Grass to Grace, who for the past decade has been able to reach out to various Cameroonian and African communities.
La cigarette tue. Ces messages à pris un ton plus agressif ces derniers mois sur les nouveaux paquets de cigarettes. Charles Fils Elangue nous en dit plus dans ses régies.
La cigarette nuit gravement à la santé. Cet avertissement est devenu au fil des temps un slogan qui visiblement n'avait aucun véritable impact sur les fumeurs. Depuis quelques mois, le message a pris un autre ton. Sur les paquets de cigarettes, les concepteurs de cette communication sont devenus plus agressifs en y ajoutant des images qui illustrent la conséquence que risque le fumeur si jamais il s'entêtait à la pratique. Selon des sources, cette nouvelle campagne influence les fumeurs, mais certains ont décidé de jouer les autruches en exigeant que leurs cigarettes soient emballées dans les anciens paquets où le message était plus subtil. Cette campagne initiée par le ministère de la Santé a pour but de décourager la consommation de la nicotine.
Moi je pense que au lieu de mettre les messages pour décourager les fumeurs, on devrait plutôt arrêter la fabrication de la cigarette parce que ça ne sert à rien de dire à l'enfant de ne pas manger un poison et tu mets ce poison à sa disposition. Oui, c'est ça.
La nicotine qui est selon une étude la substance principale de la cigarette qui la rend agréable à fumer et provoque au sein du fumeur une forme d'indépendance. Pour les experts, la nicotine est à l'origine des cancers, mais en dehors d'elle, la cigarette contient plus de 4000 autres produits chimiques, dont au moins 50 d'entre eux peuvent augmenter des risques de maladies graves comme un cancer. Ces messages sont donc loin d'être de la pure fantaisie, mais un véritable avertissement, une sensibilisation afin de sauver ses compatriotes qui se tuent à petit feu.
That report brings us to the end of tonight's newscast. Before taking leave of you, a recap of our lone headline. Expectations are high amongst Cameroonians at home and abroad as President Paul Biya addresses the nation tonight. Some of their reactions on President Paul Biya's State of the Nation's address were served to you in tonight's newscast. The news was compiled and produced by Lasha Kingsley, Faith Tatam, and Ewane Nolinga Eli. For presentation, I've been Metuga Stanley La Ngalame, signing out from Douala, Cameroon, and leaving you in the company of Kum Leonard and his guest on a special Prime Hour. May God bless Cameroon. Good night.
De l'inédit au Cameroun, le tout premier collège canadien ouvre ses portes dès septembre 2019. Performance Education Center, en partenariat avec les grandes écoles canadiennes, offre aux élèves du second cycle un cadre prestigieux, calme et propice pour des études avec des enseignants chevronnés canadiens et camerounais. À Performance Education Center, obtenez le baccalauréat canadien, vous ouvrant automatiquement les portes des plus grandes universités canadiennes et du monde via les bourses d'études garanties. Performance Education Center propose également des programmes de formation bilingue de 2 ans permettant d'obtenir un permis de travail au Canada après obtention d'une attestation d'études collégiales du Québec équivalent du BTS sous l'assistance de Performance Immigration Canada. Performance Education Center est situé à Locbessou derrière Antenne CRTV 10e avenue. Performance Education Education Center, visa vers le Canada et le monde.
Seeking a career in agriculture? Consider St. Louis Higher Institute of Agriculture, where students can build their interest in various farming systems by tailoring their study of agriculture to production, processing, and marketing agribusinesses, making them job providers and not seekers. St. Louis Higher Institute of Agriculture offers relevant practical education developed and delivered by experts and teachers who believe in teaching by demonstration. St. Louis Complex also offers through its Higher Institute of Medical Studies professional HND in nursing, midwifery, physiotherapy, pharmacy technology, medical lab sciences, dental therapy, radiology, and ultrasonography. We are located at Bonaberin Double opposite Nestle. Contact us on 678-435-138 or 677-764-674.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime on My Media Prime. Thank you to Metuge Stanley for that wonderful presentation of the newscast for tonight. We continue with our anticipations out here in the studio with our panelist, Suleiman Mohammed. Some people see today as a redemption day for Cameroon.
I do not see it like a redemption day for Cameroon until when we see the president has spoken.
Okay.
But all we know is that if they are going for dialogue, there should be no preconditions for the dialogue. If he puts preconditions to the dialogue, then he has spoiled everything. And what are some of the preconditions? He will say that if you are a supporter of separatists, you will not be part of the you will not be part of the dialogue. He will say that if you supported the lawyers' strike, you will not be part of the dialogue. If you supported a consortium to go, you will not. So, or if you are an ex-convict, you will not be part of the dialogue. But I think to be objective and fair, the president should allow the ground to be level for everybody, so that people should cross-pollinate ideas, debate the ideas, and come out with a concrete decision. Let the roadmap be brought out of the discussion. But if at all, anything short of that.
Kalsindu, what do you expect the president to say with respect to the post-electoral crisis rocking Cameroon today?
I don't think, as I said earlier at the beginning of the show, the president should have set his priorities. And looking into priorities, the issue with Professor Maurice Kamto cannot be
secondary or tertiary?
Tertiary, definitely. It could not be at the first. And listening to what the doctor said earlier, that the president has his ears everywhere in this country, I don't think that's true, because looking at, let's take an example, the state of the economic capital, Douala, the state of the roads. Should the president have his ears on the ground, I don't think Douala would be at this point in which we are finding ourselves. So talking about what you just asked, it will be about priorities. And the main priority now will be the Anglophone crisis.
Security crisis.
Security crisis. Not security. Boko Haram has been leveled off with a little bit. The crisis at the east.
There we see have incursions up there.
Yeah, definitely. I see incessant attacks, but not as compared to the Anglophone crisis. So it's going to be priorities. And what we should be asking ourselves is the president going to give in, or is he going to do as stepping up the game? That's going more
radical?
Yes, more radical.
Like he did. Like, do you see a scenario where the president would want to stamp the authority of the state like he did in 2008, or mellow down to play to show the human face of the government this time around?
I think the government has been using the stick more than the carrot. And when I was coming to the studio, I was meditating on something, and actually this is what you have just mentioned now. This thing called l'autorité de l'État. That phrase, l'autorité de l'État, could be understood by people who are mature and are disciplined. They would understand it differently. To say, yes, I have the power. But just because you have the power does not mean you use all the power. And you know, it's like saying that because President Trump has got all the atomic bombs, he can press a button anytime and kill everybody in the world. That's not true. He has the authority, but he cannot use it like that. That said, let me come back home. You know, the president is there, and he has this authority with him, and he delegates it to his ministers and to some other people that he puts, you know, an administrative post and I don't know what, state corporations and so on. And especially those of them who are in administration, they have taken this concept of autorité de l'État, they've taken it out of proportion. And all they know is autorité de l'État, and they use it more as a crushing stone. They just go around crushing people. Yeah. Yes, and you're supposed to use autorité de l'État to solve problems. You're not supposed to use it to mater les gens, as they say in French, to kick people around. And I think that is where the problem is really coming from. You know, and when you tend to kick people around too much, then, you know, when you don't know where the truth lies and so on, innocent people suffer, and that's very painful. Innocent people
suffer and painful. Do we want to see the President of the Republic re-echo what he said in a tweet some months back, where he said it's time to forget and forgive so that we can move forward?
Yeah, I think so. I think I look forward to hearing the President, tone down a bit and then create some kind of atmosphere of reconciliation. Okay. And why not also, you know, embrace and send a more appealing appeal to the separatists and those who are probably at loggerheads with the state. And why not also send an olive branch to those out of the country, like I said, the diaspora. And that will, in fact, will not mean a weakness to the state, but will show him as a father, and he will go down in the annals of history as one who made it possible. But when I look at the situation, the scenario that is happening right now, the heavy military presence in some of the major towns in the Anglophone areas for the past 3 days, I start catching thread. I start getting a bit pessimistic that it may not go to that level. It may be rather a harder situation. But that I don't pray for that. But I am of the opinion that the president is going to come out like a father today and talk to his children and talk to the nation as a father will to his children.
But whatever the case, the state needs security, whether he talks like a father or as...
You know, the state of security at a given time and times of peace, when somebody is talking peace, is different from, you know, when you are deploying, combat-ready security to some areas. We know when the
country is at war.
Yes.
Should you send combat non-prepared elements to the front?
No, I'm not saying so. Okay. What I'm trying to say is that the atmosphere should be more, lively and quite attractive. Kind of appealing. Not frightful. You know, when you're preparing a good message, a message of reconciliation, it should not be another people seeing the military here and there once again. And I think it should rather bring them to understand that they are about being, kind of reconciled to one another again.
Okay, we are looking forward to that speech that should be starting in under a minute's time. The head of state is expected to show that he is fatherly, but people fear that 2008 may repeat itself today.
No, in as much as people are expecting the head of state to go for dialogue. Remember that dialogue means two people communicating. The people from the other side, are they also ready for dialogue? That's a big question which still hangs in the air, because the head of state may come out today saying that, okay, I'm ready. And the other side is not ready to go into the dialogue. I don't think that's going to solve anything about this crisis.
What posture should the head of state take as he addresses the nation? Do you think that people who are praying incessantly in the camp of the government for the head of state not to say, I am open to peace today?
No, everybody is expecting the president to be more, to show some kind of kindness, a make of kindness, and in his speech in order to cool down the situation. We are all just anticipating to hear what he's going to say. We will not conclude until we hear what the Almighty Paul Biya will say.
Okay, Almighty Paul Biya would say we are expecting indications from the control room to say if we are ready to go live to follow the president of the president of the Republic. Okay, they say we still have time. Dr. Nick, do you think it's time for the president to start preparing the minds of Cameroonians on a possible peace and reconciliation?
Yes, of course, there must be peace. It doesn't matter what happens. After a storm, there must be sunshine. And you cannot just continue having a storm. There must be sunshine. There must be sunshine. And this is the time for sunshine.
Okay, they tell us that it's time for us to move over. If everything is ready, let's move over to follow that delivery by the head of state.
Camerounaises, Camerounais, mes chers compatriotes, depuis près de 3 ans, les régions du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest de notre pays sont en crise qui met en péril la sécurité et le bien-être des populations qui y vivent, mais a également de profondes conséquences sur l'ensemble de la communauté nationale. Cette crise, faut-il le rappeler, est née des revendications corporatistes des avocats et des enseignants qui réclamaient la traduction en langue anglaise des actes uniformes OHADA et la préservation de la spécificité du système judiciaire et du système éducatif anglo-saxon dans les 2 régions. Et dès le départ, fidèle à une option qui m'est chère, j'ai instruit l'instauration d'un dialogue entre le gouvernement et les organisations syndicales en vue de trouver des réponses appropriées à ces revendications. Les mesures qui ont été prises par le gouvernement à l'issue de ces concertations sont allées bien au-delà des revendications de départ. Qu'il me soit permis d'en énumérer quelques-unes. La traduction en langue anglaise des textes OHADA a été effectuée. Ces textes sont désormais disponibles dans nos 2 langues officielles. Une section de la Common Law a été créée à la Cour suprême afin de connaître des pouvoirs formés contre les décisions des juridictions inférieures dans les affaires relevant de la Common Law. Au plan de la formation des magistrats, une section de la Common Law a été créée à l'École nationale d'administration et de magistrature. Cette mesure a été accompagnée d'un programme de recrutement des auditeurs de justice et des greffiers, d'expression anglaise. Par ailleurs, un recrutement spécial d'enseignants bilingues a été mis en œuvre dans l'enseignement secondaire. Au plan judiciaire, un arrêt des poursuites a été ordonné en faveur de certaines personnes interpellées dans le cadre de ces revendications. Une commission nationale pour la promotion du bilinguisme et du multiculturalisme a été créé, afin notamment d'examiner en profondeur l'ensemble des sources de frustration de nos compatriotes des régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest. Par la suite, des décisions ont été prises pour accélérer le processus de décentralisation, avec en prime la création d'un ministère dédié. Les prochaines élections régionales serviront à parachever ce processus en permettant à nos compatriotes sur l'ensemble du territoire national de participer pleinement à la gestion de leurs affaires au niveau local. Mes chers compatriotes, malgré ces efforts du gouvernement, des mouvements radicaux, principalement inspirés de l'étranger, ont récupéré et dévoyé les revendications corporatistes ou dit un projet sécessionniste avec pour but la partition de notre pays. À cette fin, ils ont constitué et financé des groupes armés qui ont causé un lourd préjudice aux populations des régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest. Le monde entier a été témoin des atrocités commises par ces groupes armés. Mutilation, décapitation, assassinat des éléments des forces de défense et de sécurité, des autorités administratives et des civils sans défense, destruction des infrastructures et édifices publics, incendie des écoles, des hôpitaux, etc. Je voudrais saisir la présente occasion pour réitérer mes condoléances les plus sincères et celles de la nation tout entière à tous ceux qui ont perdu des êtres chers dans le cadre de cette crise. J'adresse également un message de réconfort aux blessés et à toutes les autres victimes à divers titres. Je leur donne l'assurance qu'ils peuvent compter sur la solidarité du gouvernement de la République et sur celle de la nation tout entière. Mes chers compatriotes, les exactions des groupes armés ont poussé des milliers de nos compatriotes à se réfugier dans les autres régions du pays, voire pour certains dans des pays voisins où ils sont réduits à la précarité. Face à les forces de défense et de sécurité ont pris des mesures énergiques, souvent au péril de leur vie, pour assurer leur devoir de protection des citoyens et de leurs biens. À l'heure actuelle, ces mesures commencent à porter leurs fruits avec l'amélioration de la sécurité et la reprise progressive des activités économiques dans les deux régions. Mes chers compatriotes, depuis la survenance de cette crise, je n'ai ménagé aucun effort avec l'aide des Camerounaises et des Camerounais de bonne volonté pour rechercher les voies et moyens d'une résolution pacifique de celle-ci. Dans un souci d'apaisement, j'ai même décidé de l'arrêt des poursuites judiciaires pendantes devant les tribunaux militaires contre 289 personnes arrêtées pour des délits commis dans le cadre de cette crise. Dans le même ordre d'idées, j'ai adressé une offre de paix aux membres des groupes armés en les invitant à déposer les armes et à bénéficier d'un processus de réintégration dans la société. À cet effet, un comité national de désarmement, de démobilisation et de réintégration a été créé. Les centres régionaux de désarmement accueillent progressivement de nombreux ex-combattants qui acceptent volontairement de déposer les armes. Nous allons continuer à déployer les efforts nécessaires pour que ce processus soit pleinement opérationnel. Au plan humanitaire, j'ai décidé du lancement d'un vaste plan d'assistance aux compatriotes éprouvés des régions du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest. J'ai également créé un centre de coordination de l'action humanitaire chargé de mettre le dit plan en œuvre. Je voudrais à cet égard dire merci aux partenaires internationaux qui nous accompagnent dans cette initiative. Mes chers compatriotes, pour expliquer cette crise, il a souvent été évoqué un sentiment de marginalisation qu'éprouveraient les populations du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest. Je voudrais à cet égard redire à nos compatriotes de ces régions, mais également à ceux des 8 autres régions du Cameroun, que la marginalisation, l'exclusion ou la stigmatisation n'ont jamais inspiré l'action des différents gouvernements que j'ai formés depuis mon accession à la magistrature suprême de notre pays. Certes, aucune œuvre humaine n'est parfaite, et dans un pays en développement tel que le nôtre, confronté à de multiples défis et ne disposant que de ressources limitées, de nombreux besoins restent encore insatisfaits dans toutes les régions. Fort du soutien massif que vous m'avez accordé lors de la dernière élection présidentielle, je continuerai à œuvrer sans relâche avec toutes les filles et tous les fils de notre pays à relever les multiples défis auxquels nous sommes confrontés pour améliorer le bien-être de nos populations, notamment en matière d'infrastructures, d'approvisionnement en eau et en électricité, de couverture sanitaire et d'emploi des jeunes. Mes chers compatriotes, le 4 janvier dernier, j'ai procédé à un important remaniement ministériel avec notamment la nomination d'un nouveau Premier ministre, chef du gouvernement. Le choix de ces responsables a, comme à l'accoutumée, été principalement guidé par leurs qualités humaines et professionnelles, leurs compétences et leur expérience. Je voudrais néanmoins souligner que, fidèle à l'équilibre régional que je n'ai cessé de promouvoir, j'ai choisi un Premier ministre originaire de la région du Sud-Ouest. Son prédécesseur, qui a quant à lui passé près de 10 ans à ce poste clé, était originaire de la région du Nord-Ouest. De fait, depuis le 9 avril 1992, les premiers ministres chefs de gouvernement ont été choisis parmi les ressortissants de ces deux régions. Malgré cela, certains continueront à parler de marginalisation des populations de ces régions. En fait, il y a lieu de reconnaître au plan général que la nature humaine est ainsi faite qu'il n'y aura jamais assez de postes de responsabilité pour satisfaire toutes les régions, tous les départements, les arrondissements, les villes, villages, familles et citoyens de notre pays. Chaque choix continuera de provoquer de la joie lorsque l'on sera distingué et de la tristesse lorsqu'on ne le sera pas. Il est cependant indispensable que nos mentalités évoluent sur ce point. S'il est nécessaire de tenir compte de l'équilibre régional dans des pays neufs, sociologiques divers tels que le nôtre, il est indispensable de rappeler que les ministres et autres responsables ne sont pas nommés seulement pour servir leur région, leur village ou leur famille, mais l'ensemble de la communauté nationale. Ils doivent être au service de l'intérêt général et non des intérêts particuliers. C'est pourquoi, depuis mon accession au pouvoir, je ne cesserai de mener avec acharnement la lutte contre la corruption et les détournements de fonds publics et de promouvoir la bonne gouvernance. Mes chers compatriotes, depuis la survenance de la crise dans les régions du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest, jamais le terme dialogue n'a été autant évoqué, prononcé, voire galvaudé. À l'interne comme à l'international, chacun y est allé de ses propositions et de ses suggestions. Certaines d'entre elles réalistes, d'autres moins. Les conseils ont afflué, certains avisés, d'autres intéressés. D'aucuns se sont même injonctions. Des initiatives multiples et diverses ont également fleuri. La plupart du fait de personnes de bonne foi, de pays ou d'organisations véritablement soucieuses du devenir de notre pays et du bien-être de nos populations. Qu'il me soit permis de les remercier pour leurs efforts et leurs témoignages d'amitié. Il y a toutefois lieu de remarquer que la prolifération de ces initiatives s'est parfois malheureusement appuyée sur des idées simplistes et fausses procédant de la propagande sécessionniste. Il en est ainsi de la prétendue marginalisation des anglophones, de la persécution de la minorité anglophone par la majorité francophone, du refus du dialogue par notre gouvernement au bénéfice d'une solution militaire à la crise, ou encore des accusations ridicules de génocide. S'agissant du dialogue lui-même, la question s'est toujours posée de savoir avec qui. Les nouvelles technologies de l'information et de la communication, et notamment les réseaux sociaux, ont malheureusement favorisé l'apparition des leaders autoproclamés, d'extrémistes de tous bords, essayant d'asseoir leur notoriété par le biais d'injures, de menaces, d'appels à la haine, à la violence et au meurtre. Or, tuer des gendarmes ou des civils, kidnapper, mutiler, molester, incendier, détruire des infrastructures publiques, empêcher les enfants d'aller à l'école ou les populations de vaquer tranquillement à leurs occupations, n'a jamais été dans aucun pays au monde source de légitimité pour représenter ou s'exprimer au nom des populations justement victimes de ces exactions. En démocratie, seule l'élection confère une telle légitimité. Mes chers compatriotes, les nombreuses consultations que je n'ai cessé de mener au sujet de cette crise m'ont permis de prendre la mesure de l'ardent désir des populations des régions du Nord-Ouest et de retrouver le cours normal de leur vie, de pouvoir de nouveau en toute sécurité exercer leurs activités économiques, de voir les réfugiés et les personnes déplacées revenir et les enfants retrouver le chemin de l'école. La récente tournée du Premier ministre dans les deux régions a permis de confirmer ce sentiment. J'ai la ferme conviction à cet égard que le moment est venu de mobiliser toutes les forces positives et constructives de notre pays, à l'intérieur comme dans la diaspora, pour que ces désirs deviennent une réalité. C'est pourquoi j'ai décidé de convoquer dès la fin du mois en cours un grand dialogue national qui nous permettra, dans le cadre de notre Constitution, d'examiner les voies et moyens de répondre aux aspirations profondes des populations du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest, mais aussi de toutes les autres composantes de notre nation. Le dialogue dont il est question concernera principalement la situation dans les régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest. Mais quand cela même qu'il touchera à des questions d'intérêt national, telles que l'unité nationale, l'intégration nationale, le vivre ensemble, intéresser uniquement les populations de ces deux régions. Il aura donc vocation à réunir sans exclusive les filles et les fils de notre cher et beau pays, le Cameroun, autour de valeurs qui nous sont chères, la paix, la sécurité, la concorde nationale et le progrès. Il s'articulera également autour de thèmes susceptibles d'apporter des réponses aux préoccupations des populations du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest, ainsi qu'à celles des autres régions de notre pays. Le bilinguisme, la diversité culturelle et la cohésion sociale, la reconstruction et le développement des zones touchées par le conflit, le retour des réfugiés et des personnes déplacées, le système éducatif et judiciaire, la décentralisation et le développement local, la démobilisation et la réinsertion des ex-combattants, le rôle de la diaspora dans le développement du pays, etc. Présidé par le Premier ministre, chef du gouvernement, ce dialogue réunira une palette diverse de personnalités, parlementaires, hommes politiques, leaders d'opinion, intellectuels, opérateurs économiques, autorités traditionnelles, autorités religieuses, membres de la diaspora, etc. Seront également invités des représentants des forces de défense et de sécurité, des groupes armés et des victimes. Tout le monde ne pourra, et c'est compréhensible, prendre effectivement part à ce dialogue, mais chacun aura l'occasion d'y contribuer. En amont de la tenue effective du dialogue, le Premier ministre, chef du gouvernement, mènera de larges consultations afin de recueillir les avis les plus divers qui serviront de source d'inspiration pour la conduite des débats. Des délégations seront également envoyées dans les prochains jours à la rencontre de la diaspora afin de lui permettre d'apporter sa contribution à ces réflexions sur la résolution de la crise. Je voudrais, à cet égard, en appeler au patriotisme et responsabilité de tous nos compatriotes, de l'intérieur comme de la diaspora, pour que chacun, où qu'il se trouve, saisisse cette opportunité historique pour contribuer à conduire notre pays sur les chemins de la paix, de la concorde, de la sécurité et du progrès. Mes chers compatriotes, la propagande des sécessionnistes a voulu présenter les décisions de justice récemment rendues à l'encontre d'un certain nombre de nos compatriotes dans le contexte de cette crise comme un obstacle au dialogue envisagé. Il n'en est rien. Je voudrais d'ailleurs en profiter pour préciser que le respect de la règle de droit et la lutte contre l'impunité constituent les piliers de la consolidation de l'état de droit à laquelle nous aspirons tous. Fouler aux pieds la règle de droit et assurer l'impunité à certains citoyens aboutirait à préparer le lit de l'anarchie. Il est donc fondamental à ce stade de dissiper les rumeurs selon lesquelles l'on peut tranquillement piller, violer, incendier, kidnapper, mutiler, assassiner, dans l'espoir qu'un éventuel dialogue permettra d'effacer tous ces crimes et d'assurer l'impunité à leurs auteurs. Une telle façon de penser ne peut qu'encourager la perpétuation des violences dans les régions en crise et même en susciter dans les régions où il n'y en a pas, ainsi que nous l'enseigne l'expérience vécue par plusieurs pays dans le monde. Il est toutefois vrai que dans le cadre d'un dialogue, d'un processus de paix ou de réconciliation nationale, il puisse être envisagé l'éventualité d'un pardon dans certaines conditions. Il est tout également vrai qu'au terme de notre Constitution, le chef de l'État est habilité à user d'un droit de grâce. C'est d'ailleurs fort de cette habilitation que j'ai adressé lors de ma récente prestation de serment une offre de paix aux membres des groupes armés. Je voudrais solennellement réitérer en ce jour cette offre. Ceux qui volontairement déposent les armes et se mettent à la disposition des centres de DDR n'ont rien à craindre. Les camarades qui s'y trouvent déjà peuvent en témoigner. En revanche, ceux qui persisteront à commettre des actes criminels, à violer les lois de la République, feront face à nos forces de défense et de sécurité et subiront toute la rigueur de ces mêmes lois. Il en est de même des promoteurs de la haine et de la violence qui, confortablement et impunément installés dans des pays étrangers, continuent à inciter au meurtre et aux destructions. Qu'ils sachent qu'ils devront tôt ou tard rendre des comptes à la justice. J'en appelle justement aux pays qui abritent ces extrémistes. S'ils se soucient réellement de la situation des populations du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest, qu'ils agissent contre ces criminels. Et ils passent leur temps à collecter des fonds pour perpétrer des actes terroristes au Cameroun, à commanditer des incendies, des kidnappings et des assassinats, et à lancer les enfants d'aller à l'école et les citoyens de vaquer tranquillement à leurs occupations. Mes chers compatriotes, la communauté nationale tout entière fonde de grands espoirs sur les assises que je viens d'annoncer. Elle espère y voir l'opportunité pour nos frères et sœurs du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest de tourner cette page particulièrement douloureuse, d'oublier leurs souffrances et de retrouver une vie normale. Elle espère également voir notre pays poursuivre résolument sa marche vers le progrès, grâce à une réflexion féconde sur les voies et moyens de créer les conditions d'une exploitation optimale des ressources naturelles et du formidable potentiel humain que recèle notre pays. Nous devons donc tous œuvrer à leur succès. Mes chers compatriotes, au fil du temps, nous avons su tirer parti de notre formidable diversité linguistique et culturelle, du talent de nos filles et de nos fils, de nos efforts et de nos sacrifices méritoires pour bâtir un pays solide et une nation forte. Ensemble, nous avons relevé de nombreux défis et remporté d'innombrables victoires. Nous avons prouvé que il n'y a pas de difficultés que nous ne puissions surmonter, d'obstacles que nous ne puissions franchir. Nous l'avons prouvé hier, nous le prouverons encore aujourd'hui et demain. L'avenir de nos compatriotes du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest se trouve au sein de notre République. Le Cameroun restera un et indivisible. Vive le Cameroun! Camerounaises, Camerounais, mes chers compatriotes,
fellow Cameroonians, my dear compatriots, for close to 3 years now, the northwest and southwest regions of our country have been going through a crisis that not only jeopardizes the safety and well-being of the population living there, but also has far-reaching consequences for the national community as a whole. It should be recalled that the crisis was triggered by corporate demands made by lawyers and teachers calling for the translation of the OHADA Uniform Act into English and the preservation of the specificity of the Anglo-Saxon judicial and educational systems in the two regions. From the outset, and true to an option that I hold dear, I instructed the holding of dialogue between the government and trade unions to seek appropriate to these demands. The measures taken by the government at the end of these consultations went well beyond the initial demands and include the translation into English of the OHADA instruments, which are now available in the two official languages. The creation of a common law section at the Supreme Court to handle appeals filed against the decisions of lower courts in common law matters. Regarding the training of judicial and legal officers, the creation of a common law section at the National School of Administration and Magistracy. This measure was accompanied by a program for the recruitment of English-speaking pupil judicial and legal officers and court registrars. The launching of the special recruitment of bilingual teachers in secondary schools. At the level of the judiciary, the stay of proceedings against some persons arrested in connection with the demands. The setting up of a national commission for the promotion of bilingualism and multiculturalism to, among other things, carry out in an in-depth review of all the sources of frustration suffered by the compatriots in the Northwest and Southwest regions. Decisions were taken subsequently to fast-track the decentralization process with the creation of a new ministry devoted thereto. The upcoming regional elections will complete the process by enabling our compatriots nationwide to fully participate in the management of their local affairs. My dear compatriots, despite the efforts made by the government, radical movements, mainly inspired from abroad, have exploited and distorted the corporate demands. They have thus hatched a secessionist plan to partition our country. In this regard, they have formed and financed armed groups that have caused untold harm to the population of the Northwest and Southwest regions. The whole world has witnessed the atrocities committed by these armed groups: maiming, beheading, assassination of elements of the defense and security forces, administrative authorities and defenseless civilians, destruction of public infrastructure and buildings, and burning of schools, hospitals, etc. I would like to avail myself of this opportunity to once again extend my heartfelt condolences and those of the entire nation to those who have lost loved ones in the crisis. I also wish to send a message of comfort to the wounded and all those affected in one way or the other. I want to assure them that they can count on the authority of the government of the Republic and the nation as a whole. My dear compatriots, the atrocities committed by armed groups have forced thousands of our compatriots to seek refuge in other regions of the country, and for some in neighboring countries where they have been reduced to living under precarious conditions. In the face of these intolerable acts, the defense and security forces have taken energetic measures, often at the risk of their lives, to perform their duty of protecting citizens and their property. These measures are currently bearing fruits with the improvement of security and the progressive resumption of economic activities in the two regions. My dear compatriots, since the outbreak of this crisis, I have spared no effort, with the help of Cameroonians of goodwill, in seeking ways and means for its peaceful resolution. In a bid to calm the situation, I even ordered the discontinuance of judicial proceedings pending before military tribunals against 289 persons arrested for offences committed during this crisis. In the same vein, I extended a hand of peace to members of armed groups by calling on them to lay down their arms and benefit from the process of reintegration into society. A national disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration committee was thus set up. Regional disarmament centers are gradually receiving many ex-combatants who willingly accept to lay down their arms. We will continue to make the necessary efforts to fully operationalize this process. At the humanitarian level, I decided to launch a large-scale assistance plan for our affected compatriots of the Northwest and Southwest regions. I also established a center for the coordination of humanitarian action for its implementation. I wish to thank our international partners for supporting us in this initiative. My dear compatriots, the supposed feeling of marginalization by the people of the Northwest and Southwest regions has often been advanced to justify this crisis. On this score, I wish to remind our compatriots in these regions, but also to those in the other 8 regions of Cameroon, that marginalization, exclusion, or stigmatization have never guided the work of the various governments I have formed since I became president of our country. Though no human endeavor is perfect, and a developing country like ours with multiple challenges and limited resources, many needs are still to be met in all the regions. With the massive support you gave me during the last presidential election, I intend to work relentlessly with all the sons and daughters of our country towards meeting the challenges we are facing in order to improve the welfare of our population, especially in terms of infrastructure, water and electricity supply, health care delivery, and youth employment. My dear compatriots, on the 4th of January this year, I made a vast government reshuffle, particularly with the appointment of a new Prime Minister, head of government. As usual, the choice of these officials was mainly guided by their human and professional qualities, their competence and experience. However, I would like to underscore that as faithful as been to the regional balance policy, I chose a Prime Minister who hails from the Southwest region. His predecessor, who served in that key position for nearly 10 years, was from the Northwest region. In fact, since the 9th of April 1992, Prime Ministers, head of government, have been appointed from among the people of the 2 regions. Despite all of this, some people will continue to talk of marginalization of the people of these regions. It must be acknowledged that such human nature, and there will never be enough duty posts to satisfy all the regions, divisions, subdivisions, towns, villages, families, and citizens of our country. Any choice that is made will always cause joy whenever one is honored, and disappointment when one is not. It is, however, crucial for us to change our mentalities in this regard. Though it is necessary to consider regional balance in new countries with a diverse sociological composition like ours, it should be recalled that ministers and other officials are not appointed to serve only their regions, villages, or families, but to serve the entire national community. They must serve the general interest and not specific interests. That is why, since I came to power, I have and will continue to wage a ruthless war against corruption and the embezzlement of public funds, and to promote good governance. My dear compatriots, since the outbreak of the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, the term dialogue has never been so much talked about, used, and even misused. In and out of the country, people have made proposals and suggestions. Some are realistic, while others are clearly less so. There has been a barrage of advice, some smart, others based on interests, some people dared to issue injunctions. There have also been multiple and varied initiatives, most of them made by people of good faith, by countries or organizations that are truly concerned about the future of our country and the well-being of our people. I wish to thank them for their effort and token of friendship. It is, however, worth noting that the proliferation of such initiatives was sometimes, unfortunately, based on simplistic and false ideas, born out of secessionist propaganda. Such is the case with the purported marginalization of Anglophones, persecution of the Anglophone minority by the Francophone majority, government's refusal to engage in dialogue, preferring a military solution to the crisis, or even ridiculous accusations of genocide. Talking about dialogue per se, the issue has always been with whom. New information and communication technologies, especially social media networks, have unfortunately facilitated the advent of self-proclaimed leaders, extremists of all shades, trying to achieve recognition using insult, threat, hate, speech, violence, and murder. However, in no country in the world has the killing of gendarmes or civilians, kidnapping, mutilation, molestation, burning, destruction of public infrastructure, prevention of children from going to school or people from going about their activities in peace, even been a source of legitimacy to represent or speak on behalf of the people, the very victims of such atrocities. In democracy, only elections confer such legitimacy. My dear compatriots, the many consultations I have continued to hold on this crisis have enabled me to size up the strong desire of the people of the Northwest to return to a normal life, to be able once again to safely carry out their economic and social activities, to witness the return of refugees and displaced persons, and to see their children return to school. The Prime Minister's recent tour of the two regions has helped to confirm this feeling. I therefore strongly believe that the moment has come to rally all well-thinking and constructive forces in our country and in the diaspora to make this desire come true. That is why I have decided to convene from the end of this month a major national dialogue that will, in line with our Constitution, enable us to seek ways and means of meeting the high aspirations of the people of the Northwest and Southwest regions, but also of all the other components of our nation. The dialogue in question will mainly concern the situation in the Northwest and Southwest regions, since it will focus on issues of national interest such as national unity, national integration, and living together. It is obvious that it will not concern only the population of these two regions. The dialogue will therefore rally all the sons and daughters of our beloved nation and beautiful country, Cameroon, to reflect on values that are dear to us, namely peace, security, national unity, and progress. It will also focus on issues that can address the concerns of the population of the Northwest and Southwest regions, as well as those of the other regions of our country, such as bilingualism, cultural diversity, and social cohesion, the reconstruction and development of conflict-affected areas, the return of refugees and displaced persons, the education and judicial system, decentralization and local development, the demobilization and reintegration of ex-combatants, the role of the diaspora in the country's development, etc. The dialogue, which will be chaired by the head of government, will bring together a wide range of personalities, parliamentarians, politicians, opinion leaders, intellectuals, economic operators, traditional authorities, religious authorities, members of the diaspora, etc. Representatives of the defense and security forces, armed groups, and victims will also be invited. Obviously, it will not be possible for everybody to effectively participate in this dialogue, but each person will have the opportunity to make a contribution. Prior to the effective holding of the dialogue, the Prime Minister, head of government, will carry out broad-based consultations to solicit a wide range of views that will serve as a source of inspiration for the conduct of deliberations. In the coming days, delegations will also be dispatched to meet the diaspora to enable them to make their contribution to discussions on the resolution of the crisis. In this regard, I am appealing to the patriotism and sense of responsibility of all our compatriots in the country and in the diaspora, so that everyone, wherever they are, should seize this historic opportunity to help to steer our country on the path of peace, harmony, security, and progress. My dear compatriots, the propaganda of secessionists has tried to present the recent court decisions taken against a number of our compatriots in the context of this crisis as an obstacle to the dialogue envisaged. That is not the case. I also wish to use this opportunity to stress that respect for the rule of law and the fight against impunity are pillars in the consolidation of a state ruled by law to which we all aspire. Violating the rule of law and granting impunity to some citizens is paving the way for anarchy. It is therefore crucial at this stage to dispel rumors that one can quietly loot, rape, burn, kidnap, maim, murder, in the hope that a possible dialogue will erase all these crimes and provide impunity to their perpetrators. As shown by the experience of many countries in the world, such ways of thinking will only encourage the perpetration of violence in the crisis regions and encourage it in crisis-free regions. Admittedly, however, in the context of a dialogue, a peace process or national reconciliation, the possibility of pardon may be considered under certain conditions. It is equally true that in accordance with our Constitution, the head of state is empowered to exercise the right of pardon. It was, moreover, on the strength of this authority that I made a peace offer to members of armed groups during my recent swearing-in ceremony. I wish to solemnly reiterate this offer today. Those who voluntarily lay down their arms and place themselves at the disposal of the disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration centers have nothing to fear. Their fellow armed group members who are already there can testify to this. Conversely, those who persist in committing criminal acts and violating the laws of the Republic will have to contend with our defense and security forces and will face the full force of those same laws. The same applies to promoters of hate and violence who, comfortably settled in foreign countries with impunity, continue to incite murder and destruction. Let them know that sooner or later they will have to face justice. I am appealing to the country sheltering these extremists to take action against those criminals if they really care about the situation of the people of the Northwest and Southwest regions. Most of them no longer have Cameroonian nationality, but they spend their time raising funds to carry out terrorist acts in Cameroon, masterminding acts of arson, kidnappings, and murder, and issuing calls aimed at preventing children from attending school and fellow citizens from going about their business peacefully. My dear compatriots, the community has high expectations for the dialogue I have just announced and hopes that this will be an opportunity, brothers and sisters in the Northwest and Southwest, to disclose this particularly painful chapter, to forget their sufferings and to return to normal life. It also hopes that our country will continue resolutely on the path of progress, through fruitful discussions on ways and means of creating conditions conducive to the optimal exploitation of natural resources and our country's enormous human potential. Therefore, we should all work towards a successful dialogue. My dear compatriots, over the years, we have used our linguistic and cultural diversity, the talent of our sons and daughters, and our commendable efforts and sacrifices to build a solid country and a strong nation. Together, we have met many challenges and won uncountable victories. We have proven that united, there is no difficulty we cannot, and no obstacle we cannot cross. We proved it yesterday. We will prove it again today and tomorrow. The future of our compatriots in the northwest and southwest regions lies within our republic. Cameroon will remain one and indivisible. Long live Cameroon.
Vive le Cameroun.
Once more, the President of the Republic has spoken. Speaking in 30 minutes, the President.
Welcome back from the delivery by the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Paul Biya. Exclusively, he was talking about the issues plaguing the Northwest and the Southwest region. A speech pregnant from very different prisms. I start with you, your appraisal of that delivery. Dr. Nick.
Yes, if we look at the whole speech, it's divided actually into three portions.
Okay.
There's the A, B, and C. The A is the first part in which the president literally beat up everybody, you know. And
so
everybody
you guys are stubborn.
On this table was feeling kind of like depressed and feeling so uncomfortable. Yeah, there were these punches, and then in the part B of it, he mentioned what the government has done so far that we are all aware of, you know, all the things they have done, including the bilingual teachers and so on. Though we have not seen any bilingual teachers, you know, that concept of bilingual teachers needs to be defined. And then, of course, he mentioned the other commissions that have been working, and we all have our appraisals of what the commission have been doing and what we think of them. That's the debate for some other day. Then, of course, the part C of it was the most interesting one, where we kind of like woke up from sleep and said, wow, the president is now talking. It's about the dialogue and the other things surrounding the dialogue, which we've been looking for the past 3 years. And now it's right here. And he said quite some nice and interesting things on this part. And we you know, as we were discussing off camera, you know, we were raising some questions and issues. And I think that's it, except I forgot something more important.
Yes, yeah, your take on the speech, Larry.
Yeah, I think the president has spoken like a president, though a fair little bit below expectation.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing I'm taking home is this idea of a dialogue that has been acclaimed and clamored for by both the national and international communities, that the president should assemble these people on a table, on a round table, so that they can talk out the problems of the plaguing or that must have generated the crisis that is currently rocking the two restive regions of the southwest and northwest regions. I must confess that the fact that the president could call for a dialogue, an inclusive one for that matter, also extending an olive branch to the separatists, separative is already a commendable effort. I must confess.
Some people talk of a concession already because 2 years ago the government bench did not hold the same stance.
That's right. I think the president could address the nation, and on particularly this Anglophone problem is worth mentioning, because this is what we've been looking forward to. For the past 3 years, we expected the president to hand. If he had done this some 3 years back, just recognizing the fact that there is this problem and dwell on it as he has done today, I think it would have given some people some life hope. Even those in the bushes who are today carrying arms, I think they would have known that they have a father who is also thinking of them and who believes that they are there and they can do, and they can also be repentant. But what I'm saying here is it is very, very apt for the president to have, called for the much talked of dialogue. But we want to see the participation and the representation in this dialogue being particularly very representative of all the parties. And then the last part I would take briefly is the fact that the president, though he reiterated the fact that those who were slammed prison terms recently, I'm here referring to Ayo Siseko and Co, Siseko Ayok and Co, that they had erred and they were being duly punished according to the laws of the land. He at the same time recognized the fact that even in the process of the dialogue, they could still be pardoned as per his constitutional right. So I think if we have to summarize it all, I think the speech, I take it back positive, because even the form of the state which has been evaded here, I think it could also be discussed in the dialogue. It will all depend on how people will talk about it.
Okay. Many international organizations and countries talked about an inclusive dialogue. The dialogue that has been announced by the President of the Republic, he says it is supposed to hold as from the end of this month. How inclusive is this dialogue going to look like, going by the people enumerated by the President of the Republic to be part of the dialogue process?
Yeah, I think kudos to President Biya.
Okay.
We have to give kudos to President Biya. We have to give him some credit. For the first time, he devoted a speech for the sake of the Anglophone crisis. I think it's something worthy of emulation. We have to congratulate the president for that one. Secondly, he put, for all along, all what people have expected from him from day one, today he has said it out, that he wants dialogue. Exclusive dialogue, not inclusive, inclusive dialogue, not exclusive dialogue. Inclusive dialogue. And now he's towing the line of the international community, the national international community, what the priests, what the politicians, what the human rights group have been saying in this country for dialogue, international community. Now he has come now, he has said that he is prepared for dialogue. But with who? That's the question he asked. He said, but with who? But that, despite that, he still went ahead to say that the dialogue will compose of members of government, members of National Assembly, members of Senate, economic operators. He lists even the armed groups. He extended a hand of friendship to them, that they are going to be part of the dialogue. I think that's a positive step taken in the right direction.
Before that, the Prime Minister is supposed to hold a broad-based
consultative talk. Yeah.
And that people were supposed to be sent out of the country. Yeah.
I think the man, he said to the Prime Minister is going to hold a broad consultative, including they will send a delegation to the diaspora to contribute their quota for the dialogue. I think, even if you are a devil now, you must know that this man has acted like a father of the nation now today. He has acted like a father of the nation, and as I said, we should give Paul Biya cafe that at least he has done something good. No matter that, the extremists will see it in a different perspective. But when we come to the context of, this speech today has succeeded in telling us that the Anglophone crisis, 70% of it now has been identified and is ready for solution. I think, Mr. President, I thank you for that speech, and I know that at least you have invigorated in me that your slumber does not mean that you didn't know what you are doing. You know what we are doing, and you have given the Prime Minister full powers, authority now to handle this matter before the end of this month. I think, Mr. President, you have done a wonderful, outstanding, and remarkable job. I salute you.
the youth representative on this platform, were you taken aback or were you surprised? Did the President of the Republic meet your expectations?
No, the President definitely did not meet my expectations because let's look at it this way. I'll break down the speech into 3 parts. The President failed to address the root cause of this crisis. In his introductory speech, he said the root cause of this crisis commenced because of grievances from lawyers and educationists. Meanwhile, a vast majority believe that this crisis started right back in 1961. He failed to address the root cause. The second thing is that the President was trying to put it in such a way that the government hasn't been responsible for everything. The government, he did not say sorry to why the government beat teachers. He did not say sorry to why the government molested students. He instead was putting the government in a position that the government is ignorant of any crime. The government is a victim of a situation. The government hasn't done anything wrong. And the third thing which the President has failed to address is that the President made mention of he's going to use constitutional rights to be able to foster this dialogue. Meanwhile, this very constitutional rights has not been able to guarantee the elections or votes of people in this country. This very constitutional rights has not been able to guarantee how people should live in this country. So if he wants to put the basis of his dialogue on the Constitution, I think it's already a failed project.
It's already a failed project. The President indexed ministers in this country, saying that a minister is appointed to represent the national interest and not
regional interest.
The regional community. Do we see ministers who have failed the nation? Because once you are made a minister, you go for your family, your friends, and a host of...
Actually, he mentioned that. Of course, in mentioning this particular aspect at this time, he was trying to say that, you know, when he appoints like the prime minister, the one that left, and he doesn't expect that prime minister to just be working for people of the Northwest. He's the prime minister for the rest of the country. That's all he is saying, and that's what we expect anyway. That when you're a minister, you're a minister for the whole nation. When you are whatever, you're a parliamentarian, though you pay a particular attention to your area of origin, but you should have a national broad-based mind. In fact, if all ministers and everybody were working like that, there will be no issue of tribalism in this country, because we have seen that all those people, though the president is saying like that, but if we go and look, we'll see that if you go to the ministries, they speak only tribal things there, you know what I mean? And so we don't see it. The president is expecting one thing, but on the ground is another thing. And Mr. President, your ministers are very tribalistic. Now, they're very, very tribalistic. Konku is tribalistic.
Yeah, but he also made mention of fast-tracking the centralization process.
Yes, he mentioned that. And off camera, yes, I was saying that we need to get a clear understanding of this decentralization, because when people just hear the word decentralization, they get this negative energy and they say we don't want it. Because like I explained sometimes before, if we look at the form of government, the government is either highly centralized or it's decentralized. You know, there's only two positions. Either you're highly centralized or you're decentralized. Now, when we take the term decentralization is a spectrum. And if we take the concept of our country, you can be decentralized into 10, 4, or 2 blocks. And as far as Cameroon is concerned, if we want to solve the Anglophone problem, you cannot have 10 units cannot work, 4 units cannot work. It must be the 2 states that came forward to create this republic. It must be West Cameroon. And so decentralization is about West Cameroon and East Cameroon. It's not about all the other things we've been talking about. That would be taking the horse in the wrong direction. So that's the first thing. So if you have of course, you know, we've talked about confederation. Yeah. It's not even federation, it's confederation. The only problem, I think, that will solve this problem is confederation. And you guys have talked about it several times, and probably now this is the occasion for us to go and revise and get to understand what exactly I meant. But, you know, 10 states will not work, 4 will not work. Ordinary federation as it was in 1961 will not work. Only a new form that is well painted and well understood, the confederation, and all the clauses will be put in the constitution, like the president said. That's the only thing that will work.
Now, he talked about considering regional balance and somewhat said pretentious marginalization. Was that the hard face of the government or of the speech?
Yeah, I think when we're talking of pretentious marginalization, I think the president was not being fair to to himself there. The first thing is that there has been an in-depth marginalization of Anglophones, that we know. I don't know why an Anglophone cannot be president in this country. In the few minutes ago, we just saw it. Why would the president addressing an Anglophone problem be speaking in French? That he's a Cameroon, he is bilingual. Why would the president not address Anglophones in English? They are marginalized in that situation. Do we need another president, Peter Esoka, to speak English for us in a speech that is directed to us? That is marginalization. Now, is it a crime for an Anglophone to be a minister of finance? No. Is it a crime for whenever an Anglophone is appointed prime minister, he must have vice prime ministers, which is not the case with others? So we realize that it is not just a matter of, he shouldn't say that it is imagined marginalization. The marginalization has been very in-depth. And I think the first thing the president should know is to recognize this and acknowledge it, and then we solve it. We all want to belong to this country. The country is ours. It is not for anybody. There is no super citizen in this country. All of us are citizens with the same rights. And so if the speech of the president today can be delivered in English when he's addressing English, delivered in French when he's addressing his compatriots of the English expressions, it tells you already that the marginalization is on. I think he already started by doing that. So I think the president marginalizes. And then maybe let me go about this concept of decentralization that has been a failure for how many years? From inception. Decentralization has been a failure, that we know. And today, trying to force it on people, I think it's still not going to work as such. Now, look at a decentralized state. Decentralization will be working with appointed governors and appointed SDOs and appointed. It will not still work. I thought the concept of decentralization was coming to erase appointment of governors, that we elect our representative as the case. But when you look at, read through the decentralization,
the president said future elections were going to further advance the implementation of the decentralization process.
We are talking of the law on decentralization is right there. It says all the other people will be elected, even the regional chair will be answerable to the governor, and which is the governor is appointed by the president, or it's an appointee. Now, how does an elected official pay allegiance to an appointed? So you realize that decentralization in itself is not the final form of government Cameroon needs now.
Similar to the government delegate lording over elected mayors.
I don't want to talk much about that now, but I think that when we get to
your hands are tied.
My hands are not tied. I am talking of your hands are tied. My hands cannot be tied.
Okay. What to say here is that I think somebody said the president did not go to the root causes of the Anglophone crisis. Yeah. The president would not have said that so here. What the president would have done is that since the dialogue is going to be broad-based, all those contention issues will be brought to the table for discussion. It doesn't mean that he has to enumerate and elucidate here. No, all those contention issues will be brought on the table for discussion.
No, I don't think that is. I'm not continuing. That's not what he meant. When the president's speech, when you look at his speech, every other blame was shifted to the separatists. He painted the government.
No, he tried to exonerate the government.
No, he tried to exonerate the government. I think that is what
at the same time
our brother was saying.
He tried to exonerate the government, but at the same time, those things will be brought back to the dialogue table when he started.
If it was supposed to be brought to the dialogue, he will not have painted one side black and the other one.
No, he has not painted. Can I say something? Let me talk. I'm the one talking now. I'm the one talking. Okay. What I'm saying is that the president, all contentious issues that has been bedeviling the Anglophone crisis must be brought on the table for discussion. That one is clear.
But he based
secondly,
on the fact that
what I'm going to say is that about marginalization, that's why I disagree with the president.
That's right.
Because truly he has not dwelled on that issue of marginalization. Because since the inception of independence in this country, no Anglophone has been Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic. No Anglophone has been Defense Minister. No Anglophone has been Minister of Finance. No Anglophone has been Delegate General for National Security. No Anglophone has been Delegate General for Gendarmerie. And you name the rest.
That's right.
So are you saying that we don't have competent people within the Anglophone to handle those issues? That's where the president for there I disagree with him.
That's right.
For there I disagree with him. But the way it comes for centralization or decentralization, all we want to see is the devolution of powers from the center to the region. Give people, put the destiny of people into their own hands. Let them decide their fate at the regions. That's what we're saying. That give people, they put the destiny of people of the region in their own hands. Let them know how to determine their region, because they know the people of the region more than you. But when you say you are still insisting on the law of decentralization, appointing governors, where the regional council are answerable to the governor, and the governor has the right to dismiss anybody in the no, council. This is undemocratic.
That's what I'm saying.
It's undemocratic.
That's it.
So what we are saying here is that what we are saying is that decentralization for now, for Cameroon, I mean, it's something that it pricks the hearts of people. All we want is devolution of power from the center.
Complete devolution
Distribute
of powers.
The powers
That's
to
it.
the regions, so that people can have a say in the determination of development of the different
areas.
Regions.
Okay, yeah, you had
Yes,
something to
in fact, when you listen very keenly to what the president was saying, somewhere along the line in his part, is it B or C down there, you know, he actually took the government to task. You have to have your ears to the ground to hear what he said. And he repeated some things that he said in 2013. Where, you know, in 2013, he lambasted the government for being
He talked about
inertia and all those things and so on. And that was one of the most beautiful speeches that the president has ever made. He made the diagnosis in 2013, but up till today, he did not give the right treatment. Yeah. That's why we are where we are today. If he had given the right treatment after having made the diagnosis in 2013, we would not have been in this mess today. Because if you go back again and listen to him, he talked about three things. I forgot to note to the other one. He said there was an issue of corruption that he's going to fight. And then he also mentioned that there must be good governance. So which, if he's saying there must be good governance, that means he's accepting that the governance so far has not been good. And then there was a third thing that if you go into, and all those ones are lumped on the government. The government is very corrupt.
The government is very corrupt. The president talked about the fact that he has taken all this time to consult and to make informed decision. And equally quoting the fact that the Prime Minister went down to collect information. Because when the Prime Minister went down and said, the President said he was ready for dialogue, people said he was talking for himself. Is he confirming the fact that what the Prime Minister said was what he said?
Definitely, the President made special note of the Prime Minister that he's somebody he appointed based on his quality and capabilities. Thereby, for him sending the Prime Minister to the ground, I think it was his move, and the Prime Minister definitely gave him the right information. But now we should not forget the most important fact here. You cannot remove a speck from somebody's eye when you have not looked if there's something in your own eye. Mr. Biya, the president, has to look at his government. If his dialogue has to go on with the very members he has in his government, because they'll be the ones to advise him that, Mr. President, what these people are saying, this is what they think about it, this is how we see it. If it's those very members of government who are failed Cameroonians, I think that, as I said earlier, this dialogue, this so-called dialogue, which we are all hoping for, will be a failed project.
Okay, let me take some people who are watching. Zifo Ferdinand, who is a panelist, I hope that Zifo is going to be here because tomorrow we are coming back to the president's delivery. He says, bravo, Carson Doe, for your appreciation of the speech. Good evening. And for Mr. Suleiman, yesterday I followed the program and heard your expectations. I wrote to say your expectations were very optimistic. Today, you at least appreciate a more subdued delivery by the president. This is what I expected all along. Alain is writing from Boya. Please stop calling. When you call, we can't read the messages. All I will say is thanks to President Paul Biya. I am happy, at the same time glad for him to see into these problems and try to see how we can settle. My names are Desmond Ita. Stop calling, please. We cannot take a call. We can only read your messages. Good evening to all you all in the studio. I just want to say Mr. Biya is not serious. I thought he would grant general amnesty to all, but he's coming to tell us who you want to go dialogue with. But let me make this clear that he will not let us who to dialogue with our leaders while our leaders are in prison. Okay, I'm sure he says he has the powers to grant clemency or pardon and grace. This dialogue does not include Southern Cameroonians because he said the government remains one and indivisible. Divine from Limbe. I'm not sure that is what the president said. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and the rest of you all. His son Elliot from Kumba, according to my prophecy about the speech, the head of state will address. No, that was late. I'm sure this message was sent before the delivery. The head of state spoke already. Good evening, honored panelists. Only the end of the speech has some substance. My fear is that the clamor dialogue he talked about is with a precondition. He stood firm on his form of state, one and indivisible, which is frustrating. An amnesty would have given the intention that he wished to meet all forces, but at this juncture, the dialogue shall constitute his advocate. I am Eva Dawo from Muyaboya. I'm sure the head of state said the armed groups are going to be part of it, and he talked about the diaspora. Good evening, Mr. Kum & Co. Thanks for the special edition. The president's speech failed 100% to say anything reasonable when he asked who to dialogue with. Why does he still call for dialogue when there is no one? Why are Anglos used as scapegoats every moment? Okay, Senderic writing there. This one says, good evening to you all in the studio. All the president has not said anything new for the usual speech over years. I love the analysis of the young man. He thinks like me. To me, I believe that nothing will happen that's like a dialogue. Feels is writing from Kumba. At least he has spoken well. For the first time, he come on board on ordinary day to address the Anglophone crisis. Julius is writing from Kumba. Good evening to you all. At least the president has finally recognized us. Okay. Please stop the call. Let's pray for the dialogue to be effective and positive. Favor is writing. Good evening. I'm very happy. Okay. This one says, good evening to the studio. Is El Vizo Braza from Kumba. All the people that the president have said to be there is only his members. He needs to release CCC Ayuk Tabe. Good evening to you all in the panel. Why should the president condemn only the separatists for destruction? Didn't we see army burning villages, killing properties? Don't we see uniformed men raping, arresting? To me, the president was biased in condemning this destruction in the northwest and southwest. Pascal Ayuk writing from Boya. Good evening, oral panelists. If this dialogue is going to be based on aspects of the nation's constitution, then it is not going to be a frank dialogue. Good evening to you all in the panel. Why should the president... No. Good evening, all in the studio. Bravo, Mr. Ndo. You are so transparent. Ashu Lovett writing from Boya. Good evening to you all in the studio. Mr. Bia wants to dialogue with his own government. That's not... Good evening to you all in the studio. He has spoken out of expectations. It's Imakul in Kumba. Good evening. I'm very happy the president did not... Okay, I don't know why you say you're happy. This dialogue, which will soon take place, will secession be a topic to discuss on? We are not in the agenda of those to preside over. I'm writing from Kumba. I'm called Desmond Zion. Okay. Good evening. I'm glad with the president for he spoke very well. Many people are saying that the president spoke their mind. I don't know. You have the feeling the government is always credited for sloganeering and hardly implementing. Is this one going to be different?
We are with our backs to the wall, and we have no time to lose.
Okay.
So if you have been used to slogans, this is not time for slogans, because as the time is running out, people are dying and people are suffering, and those people who are in the bush must come back, very quickly. We must rebuild very quickly, and children must go to school, because, as you know, the schools have started, but it's not effective. I just wanted to say something. Someone was when this problem started, when the president spoke the first time, he said two things, key things. That number one, that the country was one and indivisible. That's part one. And two, the form of the state was not negotiable.
It's not, yeah.
But when the prime minister went out, he said the form of state was negotiable, okay? And that there was no taboo as far as the form of state is concerned. So when you're using the word one and indivisible, it's just a way of saying secession is not entertained. But to say that the internal structure of the nation would not be touched during this dialogue is not true, because again, as I said, we have two possibilities: the two-state federation or the two-state confederation. So by the time you are doing that, it means the internal structure has been modified, and then, you know, like I said in other things, we have the two confederal states. Then inside each confederal state, you cause decentralization in that, and then, you know, with the other things like probably post of vice president, all these kind of things, switching of presidents between states, and many of all those things and so on. And then talking about economy, money, and all these kind of things, and our relationship with France, and all those clauses that were signed in 1959. You know, go over most of these things. Once you have agreed on them, of course, then you put them in the Constitution.
Okay, put them into the Constitution. Understand, please, let's try and understand the president in line. And please, at least he has addressed the crisis. Mr. Ikele is writing from Limbe. Larry, the president says we are going to dialogue, and seemingly this dialogue is coming after the creation of commissions like the Bilingualism Commission and other steps. Can we say that he was largely disappointed by these persons he appointed to go and seek solutions to the problems?
I think the creation of these commissions was completely out of place, because a child cannot be crying for bread and you give him stones. This, I think, it doesn't work, because I don't see the place of the Bilingualism Commission. We're not saying that Cameroon is not bilingual. Cameroon is, of course, bilingual, and that is the pride of every Cameroonian. We didn't say that multiculturalism was the aspect of that. People cried out of marginalization. Now, you imagine that a commercial law that is supposed to be used in both regions, in both sectors, the Ohada uniform law, is produced only in French. And Cameroon ignores that it is a bilingual country, and that law has been existing, that commercial law has been existing and being used in French. Now, what was the intention? What did they think that was going to happen in the other side that is a common law inclined? Was it that they were not complete, they were not Cameroonians, or they had to at all costs be francophonized? That is the problem. The problem is not, we didn't look at the problem of bilingualism and everything. No, we were looking at a situation whereby the Anglophones are given, they feel Cameroonian. Every other thing should be done. Until today, that we are beginning to feel some degree of bilingual these things in papers and other documents. Most documents you go to Yaoundé were in French. No, but that is exactly what we are saying. So the Bilingualism Commission, to me, hadn't a place at the time the crisis started. We needed a reconciliation and peace-seeking commission. If that was done, I think it would have been of much importance. Instead of creating a bilingual, what it didn't have, and all those things were done in order to avoid and probably to sway away and to move away from the problem, to try to pretend that there was no problem. And if we set aside and forgot about these commissions that were created there for small screen purposes and face this problem squarely, we will not be where we are today.
We will not be where we are today. The person to chair this dialogue process is the Prime Minister, as announced by the President of the Republic. He is an Anglophone. Is this time for him also to assert himself, because most often Anglophones are considered not respected? Is this an opportunity for Cameroonians to see him deliver?
No, first of all, the Prime Minister is a humble man. Okay. He's full of humility. I think his visit to the Southwest and the Northwest actually shows that he's a man full of humility. I think they giving him these powers now to have to take charge of this consultative talk, of this dialogue, is a pointer to those other people in government who see him as a powerless prime minister. But now, powers have been given to him, authorities have been given to him, and he's going to go deep down to do the consultative job the way it's supposed to be done. Now, this dialogue that the president has called, the diaspora guys are saying that if they want to make any meaningful dialogue, they must be a member of the United Nations president or any foreign body, or AU, Commonwealth, a Franco president. These are their own proposals. But in the president's speech today, he did not mention that any foreign body is coming to be present in the dialogue. I don't know how the dialogue is going to look like. But again, the problem is Cameroon affair. And it is supposed to be handled by Cameroonians. Though people will say they don't trust the government. That is why they are calling for international bodies to be present at the dialogue. But I think I trust Dion Ngute. Dion Ngute will do a wonderful job. I trust him. He is the one who receives all sorts of insult. He will accommodate all. He's a keen listener. He will listen to all and he will handle them the way they're supposed to be handled. But my happiness is that he has been empowered today. The rest of the other members of government should know that he has been empowered today, given the powers, the authority to handle this matter without any interference from any quarters. If you're only interfering, it's advice. But you cannot challenge his authority as far as this dialogue is concerned. I think that's a positive step taken in the right direction.
That's a positive. Is the president calling for this dialogue under intense international pressure? It is out of pure love and concern for the disastrous nature in which the Northwest and Southwest region finds themselves today.
I don't think the president has been under much international pressure because I don't quite remember any head of state from any other country putting pressure on Mr. Biya to solve this issue. Most external pressure has been from media, from the media and newspapers.
The social media?
Yes, the social media, newspapers, international newspapers, they have been the ones pressuring the government. And nevertheless, we need to understand the fact that in the speech, the president delegated the power to control this dialogue to the prime minister. We should not forget that the president will be likely out of the country between the 20th to the 24th, which means somebody else will be in charge of his country. Now, we get to look at the fact that the president said in his speech that parliamentarians will be there. I now fear that these parliamentarians, when they were raising issues concerning the Anglophone crisis, a majority of them were boycotting the session. Will it be these very parliamentarians which the president has mentioned in the speech that will be able to sit during this dialogue? When I listen to that part, I begin to wonder, is the president really serious? And the president has been fond of making promises and never delivering. We had the most recent promise about the Nations Cup, saying it will be prepared le jeudi, and the Nations Cup never played in Cameroon. So is this going to be any different? He made this speech today, is the 10th of September, and we have just 20 more days to the end, considering the fact that the president will be out of the country for about 4 days, meaning 16 days of power to the prime minister. Mr. Leo, to really look at it, something is fishy.
Something is fishy. Let's get the views of our televiewers. Good evening to you all in the studio. The president has spoken what we all have been waiting for. We pray the dialogue he has called for at the end of this month be a positive one. I'm G. Cynthia, writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Leo. Everything concerning my expectations may surely be decided during the dialogue. For now, I'm but impressed with his approach and temperament this time, though he was trying to give some justifications to the foolish approach in the past. Tiku Felix writing from Boya. Good evening to everyone. At least Mr. President has now realized there is a problem in the Northwest and Southwest, and that is a big step. I am calling for Kumba. Okay, he's writing from Kumba. So, my friends, Biya knows this problem more than us because he was the PM in this country and SG to the president. Then, so he knows everything 1961. My brother, we are dying here. Please tell Biya to free us because he holds a future and freedom. Murphy, writing from Kumba. Thank you, Murphy, for writing to us. This one says, good evening to all in the studio. When the president says that the armed forces have made life normal, and he goes on to ask whom to dialogue with, and he contradicts himself by inviting separatists. I believe that the solution to this problem is still far-fetched. Chris Santos in Mutengene, I'm also afraid that this dialogue, which is put in place, will be staged, managed by CPDM, and nothing good will come from it. Okay, good evening to you. Uncle, watching from Mutengene, good evening in Herman. Mr. Biya and his government are corrupt and unjust, so they want to use this dialogue as a strategy to apprehend his so-called secessionist. Anduba Cletus says the president is still not serious and he can't use a canny approach to solve this problem. For me, I think he has not really said what we expected from him, but he has tried, wishing next time he would improve. Okay. This one says, good evening to you all in the studio. I love this program, my prime goods. I love Mr. Biya has tried to tell us good morning, but he is still night. He has many dresses to wear, so let him not say as if he has solved the crisis, because we have lost a lot of Cameroonians. So if he can get up all those who have died, okay, then God will be happy with him. He is, message is not too clear. Good evening to you all. I'm David Cleve from Limbe. I think the president spoke well. We all desire peace, so calling for a dialogue is one of the ways we can air out our minds. So I think it's favorable for us. There is room for us to make right some certain things. Okay, some people are skeptical, saying that the dialogue, announced dialogue, may be given a political coloration. Is this time for people to go out from their regional independent postures and not trying to make it political, giving credit to a political party?
Yes, I think people who are expressing some kind of fear, they have a right to express those fears, because we've seen things derail many times. And while we were off camera, even right here, you know, we were a little bit jittery, like people were saying. We are talking of, the president was talking of parliamentarians and senators who will come and address this issue. And for the past 3 years, they have never mentioned it in parliament.
Discussed it.
Yeah, they've never discussed it. So what changes? What is going to change in them that this time they will be so nice, some great angels that they will look at it, you know? So they might approach this dialogue still with the same mindset. Of refusal that they had while they were in parliament, and that is a problem. If they had been discussing it in parliament and so on, actually, you know, people would have had bit more open to their presence there. So we only see them as people who come and occupy the benches and create the negative energy in the system. And if this dialogue were going to take place with a new government, it would have been more credible too, because most of the people who are in this government and the past, they are the same people who created the problem,
and the spoilers,
and made it worse. And there are people who are benefiting from the war, from the war situation, and so it's a little bit tricky. The message is good, but you know, the actors, we have a little problem with the actors.
Okay, we have a problem with the actors. My question to you, Larry, is that has the president embarrassed some of his close collaborators, like the Senate president, who not address this issue at the level of Senate, the president of the National Assembly, who would also not entertain discussions on the Anglophone problem, seeking for a way out, and others who even said this problem was non-existent?
I don't think he even embarrassed them. He rather has, you know, kind of hailed them again and added them more impetus to go ahead. Because if the president had said Parliament had once...
Parliament refused discussing this.
That's it. And now he's
forcing them that you people have to talk it.
No, this is the same problem we're talking about. Yeah. These are the same people who have been rejected by their people because of the same problem. And today you are bringing them up again to come and be part of. I think it is robbing Peter to pay Paul here, because these people had initially refused to talk about these things. Even those from the southwest and from the affected regions, who belong to the CPDM,
no,
they refused
my question question is, they refused to entertain this.
Yes.
They said, okay, this was not part of our government. And the president is saying that you people have to discuss this.
Now, the president is still, like I am saying, the same politicians of yesterday. Who also refuse to be actively part of these things and to be with the population, are still the same people who will be sending them. These are people who have been rejected by their people, and then bringing them back into the.
So, according to you, they are not representative of their communities.
No, I don't think they do represent them again. So, bringing them into it is another spoiler. So, I believe that either this problem, the parliamentarians and they should completely be put away, and those political leaders, because the politicians we're talking about here will definitely be constituting. We know how it functions here. They are going to be much more members of the ruling party, who have been who be sitting on the fence in this problem. So I think the president has more or less given them more powers to go and act there, because they see it as an avenue to make money. True. That's it. Because the commissions that will be created and all these things, they'll certainly be having, some finances from there. And it is another moment for them to compensate themselves and their loved ones and their friends. And so even the appointment within the commissions, I think, is going to be, that brings me to a point. I am suggesting, therefore, that if this dialogue, they should allow the two camps to select those who are supposed to represent them. So if government has to determine who point from that other side, I think it's no more dialogue. That's already a condition.
The government did not say they were going to.
No, I'm merely saying it. I'm saying that because I'm saying that they should be given a free hand
to select.
The
government says broad-based consultations.
That's what I'm saying. The consultative talk, people will be proposed. Of course, yes, we know that. And so, in the process of being proposed, that's what I'm saying. Many people will be sidelined. So they should be allowed to propose themselves. Just say, you guys give us the people you are supposed to, who will probably talk for you. And I think it's going to be much more, it's more representative, like I was saying.
Hi to you all. To me, this is not a dialogue and national reconciliation, as he says, because the circumstances surrounding it is not sincere. Or just, if they want dialogue, as he says, he could have given general amnesty to especially those in prison. Lies, okay. Joseph is writing from Limbe. Good evening. This is Celestine from Kumba. Mr. Paul needs to rethink and come on air again. Good evening to you in the studio. Samirulan from Kumba. First, we don't know the venue for the dialogue, and the Prime Minister, who is he saying has no power in the country, is just a name. The Prime Minister is not supposed to take decisions, I'm sure. Hello, panelists. To what extent would the Prime Minister have the powers? Mr. Elvis from Boya. Okay, the issue of the power. Okay, good evening to all in the studio. I am Festus from Douala. I really do appreciate the fact that our President has recognized and is ready for a genuine dialogue, but my worry is that he said it is at the end of this month, and he said some commissions shall be dispatched in and out of the country to make preparations regarding this dialogue. So my question is, will the time interval available be enough for all the necessary for the dialogue? Good evening. The international community says dialogue without preconditions, but Prezi says dialogue in accordance with alongside of the constitution, therefore pouring more petrol in the fire. Kelly, writing from Fiango, people are giving interpretations to the speech. I'm sure we all have copies. Greetings in the studio. It's Etelbed from Bomenda. The president calls for a dialogue with preconditions, which is wrong because it already gives the president an upper hand and wipes the idea of equality, which is what has to be when going for a dialogue. Now, many people are talking about this issue of preconditions. At least the fact that the president has announced this so much talked about dialogue is a first step to whatever has to follow.
Yeah, that is, you see, the problem with the government of this country is that they have not given the preconditions yet. We don't know the preconditions.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, if it comes to commission like the mobilization committee, they cannot even disclose the terms and references of their committee.
Maybe those are going to be made public You expected the President of the Republic?
No, I mean the commission member, the chairman of the commission must have brought out the terms and conditions of the bilingualism committee for us to see, so that we can even contribute memorandum to the committee.
No, the bilingualism commission has nothing to do with.
It has nothing to do with.
It has nothing to do with what has been announced.
So what
it may be a part of.
Yes. What I'm saying is that preconditions, we have not got the preconditions. As I earlier said, there must be preconditions.
Yeah, because many people are saying
and
that
those
the president
preconditions are
laying down
here.
preconditions. The president has announced the holding of a national dialogue. I don't know were there preconditions given?
No, there were no preconditions given.
Yeah, I think there were some preconditions. Look, when he says there will be conditional pardon,
the preconditions will be one.
Conditionally pardon
the
some people in the process of dialogue.
Those who support secession, maybe they will not be part of that.
The national
dialogue. Those who support a lawyer strike, they will not be part of the national dialogue. Those who support children not going to school, they will not be part of
Is there any portion of the speech that says that?
No, I say these are things that John Mute will have to sit down and do his consult, because the government will not allow radicals to come.
My question is, are there preconditions?
Oh yes, there must. No, there are no preconditions. Did
the president state any preconditions?
No preconditions.
I don't think the president.
No preconditions. No preconditions. But I feel the chairman of the commission, John Mute, Prime Minister, will set down some conditions.
I think I saw something like a precondition.
No, there's no precondition.
When you say pardon, that is instead of pardoning the people who are imprisoned, who are supposed to be leaders of the separatist movement, and you say there will be conditional, they may be in the process. However, they may be. Let me say something. There may be conditional pardon of them in the process of dialogue. They are not at the beginning of dialogue, because they must be at the start point of dialogue. They are leaders who are recognized as by their people, and so I think if we go into any dialogue with them, no, let me say something.
The president did not give any preconditions.
No, he said it. He said it here. He said in the process of dialogue, these people maybe, however,
which people? But did he?
They said
outright? That's not a precondition.
Are we saying that these people who are in prison are part of the dialogue? I don't see so.
He didn't say so. No. The dialogue is a whole process. And we don't know whether it's going. The whole thing is going to take 2 days, or 1 month, or 3 months. But in the course of
specific time,
if he releases them and they join, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
So let's not be too. Let's not see negatives where they don't.
Many people are talking about preconditions. I'm sure that today the president announced that a national dialogue was going to take place, but issues are also being raised on those to take part. You say politicians may give it a political coloration. You equally raise the issue of the MPs and senators. Yes. Who are those who should be part of this? We are getting into the work of the commission already.
Mr. Combe, you discovered that this crisis has instilled so much fear into people.
And distrust too.
Yes, distrust in such a way that anybody who opens up an idea contrary to another person, you begin to see that person as a black leg, not supportive. So it comes now to a point where I think the president has to do this dialogue from place to place. Because if it's about gathering people to come to one place and make a decision, it's going to be very difficult. Rather than, it will be easier for the president or the committee which is going to create via the prime minister to be able to hold extensive dialogue between regions and regions.
Yeah, I think political parties. When you talk about the composition of the dialogue committee, I think you must have political parties must be there.
Because
clergymen will be there, human rights groups will be there, civil liberty organizations will be there. I think to make it look transparent and rational in the eyes of the international community.
Region, I think it will be
if you ask me, I would say,
please, we are working in the spirit of the announced dialogue, which people should understand that in a dialogue process, concessions are supposed to be made.
Exactly.
Positions are supposed
to be shifted.
To be shifted.
That's right.
Where you thought that you would not budge because this other person says, "I'm ready to go," we should be able to go. So, should we be expecting a movement in the positions of both camps?
Yes, that's what dialogue is all about.
Yes.
You cannot come to a dialogue table with with
Fixed
things
mind.
set
A program
in,
mentality.
set in cement and in concrete. No, but there are some key things that you want to go for, and then there's some minor ones that you might want to shift on, and some things that make sense. You know, you have to trade your position, give and take, but there are some key things that you want to come out of it, of the dialogue with. You know, as we were talking, I think you were saying something about taking the dialogue to regions. You start taking the dialogue to regions, you create a lot of problems. Yes, you can't do that. And then there's one fear that was expressed on this table, and I think it's a fear that I must address. First, of course, I'm CPDM, but we have known that the country is very, very polarized. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Right.
Yes, the country is very, very polarized, and that is very dangerous because you have a group of people here who say, we are CPDM, and you have some other ones joining them as the other political parties that support
presidential majority,
and they sit over here, and when they sit in a group, they don't think with their individual caps. They wait for someone to tune a song, and everybody sings that song.
Exactly.
You understand?
That's right.
And then the fear,
That's
of
true.
course, is that if we go to this dialogue, we should not have that kind of a representation
Mindset, that's right.
where we have a bunch of people who refuse to think, who come and sit and then listen to the song, and everybody keeps echoing it.
Right.
If you do that, that will not be the dialogue.
That
So
was
we
true.
want people with an open mind, and the place should not be full of just CPDM. No, if you of course, if you fill them with Anglophone CPDM, I mean, you create a disaster.
That's right.
So I hope that we don't make that mistake. I want to say it clean and clear here. We want people, whether you're CPDM, whatever, number one, be God-fearing. Number two, have an open mind and be seeking for ways of...
Be patriotic.
Be patriotic.
Be patriotic.
Because, you know, when we had that, our peace movement, there was some terminology we came up with because we identified that Cameroonians either you have the BIA genes or your chromosomes and genes, or you have the cessation chromosomes. So it's very polarized, and we have to move from these positions where you swear by this or swear by that, so that we begin to have some kind of a real dialogue.
We have to end at this juncture. We are very, very glad to know that lots and lots of persons took time to follow my Media Prime on this special historic evening as the President of the Republic addressed the nation, particularly addressing the Anglophone issue. For the first time, many people say he has acknowledged the existence and the need for the problem to be solved so that Cameroon can once again regain its so much praised position of the bedrock of peace in Africa. We are glad to be part of the show, Dr. Nick Mwanya.
Thank you. This was a very kind of like a difficult subject to deal with, but we hope that we didn't let down our viewers and listeners.
Okay. Thank you to Larry for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I mean, premiering on this panel, I think I feel honored, and it was wonderful. It was really wonderful. I hope we gave our viewers what they expected. Maybe not all, but the little we could.
Carlson, thank you for coming and talking the minds of Cameroonian youth.
I'm very, first of all, proud to be the only youth here and to share in the wisdom of elderly Cameroonians. Thank you very much, Mr. Alun, for inviting me.
And Suleiman Mohammed, all the way from Kumba, the Green City. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to beg your indulgence to say that we have lost a very powerful Bafo boy in town.
That's right.
Working Bafo boy, Micah Isaac.
May
the soul of the faithful departed rest in peace. And we call on Almighty God to give the family of the deceased the fortitude and courage to bear
that loss.
That irreparable loss.
Okay.
Amen.
We want to thank
you, Mr. Kum.
Okay, we want to thank the technical team, the two Desmonds. We want to thank Eli. We want to thank Mr. Kaiser Michel for assisting us technically. We equally want to thank Billy Bob Alifungu for assisting us also technically. We want to thank Jerry, who should be at the broadcasting, and to Tambe Brian, who is supervising all that is happening out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.